Alrighty. Time to always check to see if it's working. Because that's what I always need to freaking do. Okay, I'm coming in. Let's see. I think I am anyway. What else? What else? Does everything look peachy? Does it look good? I think it does. I think everything is peachy. Alrighty. Let's take a look at everything that we're looking at, shall we? La-da-dee, la-dee-da. Interesting. Okay. Gotta get my stretch in, my stream stretch in. Alrighty, anything else? Anything else worth looking at? I've got some things on the side. I've got questions or just comments on my YouTube channel. Oh boy, I like getting comments. Oh my gosh, I actually got a lot of comments last night. What's going on? Oh man, someone in my comment section on one of my videos is like, I don't understand how this series of, and just like it ends. And then they replied to their own comment and then finished off with, yours does not have more likes. I found it simply awesome. I listened to all your location multiple times before running it with my party. Your suggestions are just fantastic. Aww. That's pretty nice. I enjoy when people are nice. I enjoy that. So for those of you just tuning in, I'll be talking about the UA in just a second. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, moans, complaints, or anything of that regard, feel free to shoot it out. I am answering some comments in my comment section because if you didn't know, I answer the overwhelming majority of comments given to me on my YouTube channel. The overwhelming majority. There's a few that I don't get to because either YouTube doesn't pick it up or because people say mean things and I'm not going to respond to mean things. Regardless, I try to answer most of the questions given to me. If every player has one, great. If everyone has one, terrible. Oof. True. Alrighty. Hi. Hello. Hey, helping hand. Hey, Briarmead. Hi everyone. Hi flutes. Brior. I'm actually curious how you're supposed to say that phonetically. No, it's probably Briar Mead. Briar Mead. It's one. It's one of those. I know for a fact. You feel free to correct me. Feel free to. I suck at preparing games, so I just end up winging it. The true DMing skill. Haha. And what do you wish... so what does 5e D&D do best? And what do you wish it did instead? That's a very interesting question. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll get to the comments. Where did I study poisons and poisoning? I'm a DM and got a killer rogue in the party. Hello from Argentina. Well, I'll tell you what. If you start studying poisons, you may get knocks on your door, so that might not be the play there. But in regards of D&D poisons, keeping it all in game and mechanical wise, I would strongly look at the DMG. There's actually a really great resource in the Dungeon Master's Guide that covers the 3 different types of poison. There is inhaled, ingested, and what do you call it? There's inhaled, ingested, and I can't remember what the name of the frontal delivery one. But there's a whole bunch of different poisons in there, and they all do either damage and or they do some fun effect. Like a perfect example being drought poison. Drought poison doesn't do extra damage. Drought poison, what it does is when you hit somebody with it, they have to make a Constitution saving throw or they go unconscious or they pass out. And then there's other ones that paralyze you. There's some that make you susceptible to effects and abilities. Injected, yes. Yeah, so I would look at that nice list of poisons in there, and that's some really good stuff. You spelled it right the first time, actually. Call me Fluffy if you want. I don't care, but me should be fine. Alrighty. Assassin, inflicted, contact. Yeah, things like that. So the important thing I would strongly suggest is incorporating poisons into your game is don't just have poison does an extra 2d6 damage, because that's boring. Have poisons which confer different abilities and status effects and things of that nature. So look at the fun laundry list of things. Like a really fun poison you could incorporate into your game would be if they get hit, they have to make a Constitution saving throw, or if they fail, then every turn they have to make a dexterity save, or else they fall prone because their legs are giving out. When you hit someone with this poison, they have to make a strength saving throw, or they drop their weapon at the start of their turn. Things of that nature could be really fun. Don't just lean into damage, because damage is the most boring aspect of the game, in my opinion. Doing more damage is always the most boring thing. Inferring status effects and making your opponents changing the battlefield is a lot more engaging than just roll more dice, in my opinion. Alrighty. Let me answer a few more questions on my YouTube channel here. I think ritual dance, everything. Awesome stuff. Someone actually called me out recently, because someone was like, "Do you seriously reply to every single comment?" I'm like, "I try my best, I know that there's a lot of YouTubers, especially once they get around to my-ish size, where they purposely don't answer all the questions. And in fact, I know that there's a lot of YouTubers out there that don't even look at their comment section. But I like to, I like to engage with people. I like to ensure that, I'm engaging with them and they're not just typing at a wall and it's not getting responded to. I like knowing that if people comment on my channel, then you're at least getting my eyes at the bare minimum. Haha. Thank you so much. Running D&D is my job, so playing D&D isn't how I want to spend my non-work time. Fair enough. I think I already got a bunch of comments on my poll I did today about do you play other non-D&D? Do you play... Why do you only play D&D and not other TTRPGs? I've already gotten a bunch of comments on that and responses and whatnot. I tried a myriad of game systems back in the 80s and early 90s, though D&D was my gateway. About 20 years ago, I decided to just stick with D&D. Granted, I do play 3 different versions, and in many ways, that's like playing entirely different games. Haha, true that. Because D&D is not the same game for the past several editions. It's actually pretty crazy. We have a long-term campaign going since 2016, and we currently have our characters at level 18. We love playing with each other, but have realized our playstyle works better in less mechanically right systems. We've played World of Darkness, the 7th Sea, 2nd Ed, and really enjoyed those systems way more than D&D and Pathfinder. It's always good to branch out, because D&D is not the end-all be-all. There are other systems that fit different genres, tones, feels, themes, and settings a lot better than D&D could for your table. That sucks. Mostly a time issue, though I have recently began playing Savage Worlds. Throughout the past, I have played many different games, but always come back to D&D. The circle of D&D life. How did I get so many comments so quickly? Poison idea, con save or move 5 feet to a random direction. Yeah, things like that. It could trigger opportunity attack. Would be cool for rogues since they can trigger sneak attack twice this way. So true, some people are surprised I respond to them even in old vids. It's funny though, Flutes, I don't know if you've noticed, but recently, like on YouTube, I know that several other people had an issue. I don't know if you had this issue too. But there was like a day or two where like I got a ton of comments, but it didn't show up in my feed, in my like comment section on my YouTube studio. I got apparently a ton of comments in a period of time where it just straight up didn't tell me that I got comments. It was really weird. I've tried out playing Earth Dawn 4th Ed, I think, and it was a great system as well. A bit more complex than 5e, but it was truly enjoyable. Sadly, I don't have that much time to play, so I often play with 5e and as a DM once a week. Fair enough. It's a cozy system for fantasy stuff, but I use different system for space mech stuff, Lancer, and for superhero games, I use Moon's Masterminds. I dig me some Lancer. Never played Mutants and Masterminds. Superheroes are just not my jam. Getting a group of 5 people in board and learning new system is hard. Play in easy system then. I made a video about this before, but I think I've actually made several videos about this, but there's this myth that 5e D&D is a simple game, and it is not simple. People like push this myth about, oh yeah, D&D is so simple. It is not simple. Imagine going down the street and grabbing a random person who's never played a tabletop role-playing game before, dropping the character sheet in front of them, dropping the player's handbook in front of them, and they're just going to be flabbergasted. Like, what the heck is going on here? It is not a simple game. It is. There's so many complexities to it. There's so many numbers behind it. There's so many things going into it. It's not a simple game. But for some reason, this myth gets perpetuated, and people just hop onto the idea that, oh, D&D is simple. It's not. I have 2 major ongoing campaigns with a couple side ones. I'm at uni at the moment, and though I love D&D, the group I joined uses Pathfinder. I'm adapting. Improvise. Alrighty, I've got a ton of questions answered on the YouTube channels there. Hopefully going to be getting into Warhammer Fantasy RP 2nd Edition game soon. Hopefully the times work out. What I will tell you about Warhammer 2nd Edition is where 5e is sunshine and rainbows, Warhammer is darkness and despair. A lot of bad things can happen real quickly. Characters are fragile, and it is not a good time for them. I got a huge batch of comments I'd never seen before, from a year ago. Yeah, sometimes that's happening on our YouTube studio there, where we're just like not getting the comments, which really sucks. You know, especially if you've got like a bajillion videos on your channel, you're not like checking every one. Honestly, someone new to tabletop role-playing games could learn any system. It's more will to learn than anything else in reading comprehension. What I will say, as an addendum to that, though, Alex, is there are games which are just flat-out easier to learn than others, right? Like, there's like, you know, one-page tabletop role-playing games, which, you know, you could literally, like, look at, like, scan every rule on this one page, and you could run a game, right? Versus, if you were to play Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you would have to learn a lot. You know, there's definitely some games which, you know, like, if you grab the average human being that has never played a tabletop role-playing game before, there's going to be some which are just infinitely easier to teach than others. Alrighty, without further ado, let's take a look at this UA, because I've been staring at this UA, but I haven't actually looked at it. I've been hearing the rumors, the rumor mill churning about this, and basically, this looks like they're trying to make 5e, but complex 5e. And I've got several things to state about that. I talked about this in my last live stream, but I don't know how many people actually watch any of my content. But for those of you that don't know, I will be making my own version of 1D&D. And with that, I am going to be making the hard changes that I know for a fact that Wizards of the Coast is not going to be making. And the fact that this UA came out is an absolute sign that they are going to be doing something I know for a fact that they are, like, not willing to do. And it's the fact of the matter of, most people do not play to high levels. And that's a huge problem for the game, because the entire game of 5e, and soon to be 1D&D, is centered around the idea that you play from levels 1 to 20. And that is shown through a number of different things, right? Your class design, your subclass design, the spell design, the feats design, the epic boons design, a whole bunch of game designs are wrapped into the idea that you play a rounded game of levels 1 through 20. But here's the problem. People do not play from levels 1 to 20. The overwhelming majority of people play from levels 3 to 10/11. That's usually the cutoff point. The so little amount of people that play past the 11th level is so ridiculously large, and yet at the same time, nearly half of the game development is centered around half of the game that no one plays. Like, let's take a look at, we're taking a look at these expert classes here. I'll be reading this in a second here, but, this one's covering the Bard. When you look at the Bard, and we're just going to take a look at the class features here, we see here, half of the features, half of them are for people that don't get played, right? We get these magical secrets, we get these feats, subclass feature, further magical secrets, feat, superior Bartic Inspiration feat, epic boon. We get a whole bunch, and of course, not to mention all the spells, right? We get a ton of features, but guess what? They don't get played. And that is a major concern, because when you sit down to make a tabletop role-playing game, you can't just make the game, like, fit on top of each other, right? You can't just make all the classes and then be like, okay, now that we've made all the classes, now we're going to stack the feats on top. And now that we made the feats, we're going to stack the subclass on top. And now that we made the subclass, we're going to put the spells on top. Everything has to be made at the same level at the same time. And ultimately, that's a huge problem, because so much development time is getting spent and effectively wasted on half of the game that no one plays, that my solution to this is to simply just cut out the high-level play. Instead of focusing on the high-level play that nearly no one plays, like, it's less than, I think, like 10% of people that play D&D play to high levels. Instead of focusing development time on that, we need to cut out the back half, We need to emphasize the low-level play that people actually play, and then make it optional for people to play at higher levels. Because once again, I have not read any of this yet, but I'm already thinking to myself that they are trying to make this to emphasize people playing high-level play, but that's just not going to happen. Instead, I am going to be cutting these levels in half. I'm going to be packing more features and whatnot into the low levels of play, and then making the optional high-level play for the very few people that actually play high-level. I wonder if Pathfinder 2e is balanced at high levels. It is. It actually is. But the real thing to consider about Pathfinder 2e is that at high levels of play, you're also working with really, really, really large numbers. You're working with huge bouts of action economy. And the thing to consider about Pathfinder is it's always meant to be balanced, which in my personal opinion is not enjoyable because I like when the game isn't balanced. That's just on D&D Beyond, to be fair. Yeah. The issue is that a lot of effort was put into making enough features to avoid levels where you get nothing, which just makes high-level play a rocket tag. It's a number of issues, right? There's a number of issues why people don't play to high levels, and that's down to a number of things. One, it comes down to DMs don't want to prep a high-tier campaign. It comes down to there's not as much material for high-tier play. It comes down to sameness. It comes down to fatigue. It comes down to people typically just want to play shorter campaigns. It comes down to so many factors as to why people don't play high-level play that I say screw it. Let's just literally just make the game for people that play, the average game length, and then tack on the advanced classes and the expert classes as the separate thing. Because I promise you, when someone new shows up to D&D, they see this, right? They see levels 1 through 20. And then they get into their head, oh yeah, that's how it's gonna be, right? And then they start looking at all these features, and they start looking at all this. Oh, look at that, my Bardic die goes up to a D12, cool. And oh, look at that, I get a +6 to my proficiency bonus now. And they start looking at that stuff, and that just doesn't end up becoming true because most people are just not going to run a game from levels 1 to 20. It's just not gonna happen. So instead of people showing up and figuring that this is the norm, let's actually throw out there what the norm actually is. Levels 1 through 10. In my revised, D&D, levels 1 through 10. And then for the very few people, once again, the less than 10% of people that are playing to high level play, allow them to have their thing, but make sure that it's clearly emphasize that is additional stuff. That is beyond the norm. Because it truly is. This UA moves a lot of features sooner to accommodate lower level play. Yeah, I'll be interested to see that. So, without further ado, let's take a look at this. This document is the second series in the UA play for 1D&D. 3 classes appear in this document, each one a member of the expert group, the bard, the ranger, and the rogue. Each class appears with 1 subclass. More subclasses will appear in Unearthed Arcana the months ahead. Feats. Feats allow the class descriptions, particular feats available to the classes in this document. Okay, so we are separating feats by classes now. Interesting. Spell list. The 3 spell lists, the Arcane, Divine, and Primal list, are featured here. The Ranger uses the Primal list, and the Bard potentially uses all 3 thanks to Magical Secrets feature. Rules glossary. In this document, any terms in the body text is underlined appears to be glossary at the end. The glossary defines game terms that have been clarified or redefined in the play test that don't appear in the 2014 Player's Handbook. Makes sense. There's playtest material. How to playtest this material, you do it. Power level. The character options you read here might be more or less powerful than options in the 2014 Player Handbook. I promise you that they're going to be more powerful because every game company in all human existence always power creeps. They never not power creep. If a design survives playtesting, we adjust its power to the desirable level before publication in a book. This means an option could be more or less powerful than its original form, which always happens. Feedback, always doing the feedback. Parts of a class. Each class contains the rules, elements described below. Characters who have levels in a class are exceptional. Most of the inhabitants of the multiverse are members of a class, which is something that it's actually in the DMG. It actually talks about how, like, basically you can give monsters class features, but monsters typically aren't a class. 20th level shouldn't be the same as first level, though. What I mean is that 20th level, you shouldn't be fighting monsters in a dungeon room, mass combat, flying mounts, and sieges, and extent. Yeah, so, and that's, one of the many factors of why people don't play high-tier play is because it's just, quite frankly, easier to DM. As a DM, I can say, hey, you're in the forest, and there's 4 goblins that shoot bows at you. But, I could come up with that on top of my head. But in order to make an engaging, pivotal experience for 20th level play, you actually have to put some brain juice into it, right? You have to be, okay, it's your dragons versus their dragons, and there's a castle, and the castle is floating above the obelisk, and if the two touch, then it'll create a time warp, and in between them is the demigod that is surging between them all, and you gotta, you basically have to throw in a whole bunch of things to make it actually engaging, right? And that's just something that a lot of DMs don't want to have to deal with. Primary ability. The primary ability of the class is critical to some of the class features. So when you create your character, that ability is a great place to put some of your highest scores. Similarly, when you gain the ability to score improvement feat, consider increasing your primary ability. Finally, to use the multi-classing rules, you must have at least a 13 in the primary ability of all your classes, which, that's already been in there, but I don't know how many people actually use that for multi-classing rules. Like, I don't know how many people actually enforce that. I don't know. I always enforce it personally, but in 5e, it's not that hard to have a 13 in multiple stats, so is what it is. Class group. Each class is a member of a class group. Set of the classes that have certain features and themes in common. Okay, so experts are Bard, Ranger, Rogue. They are polymaths who have the expertise feature and elements of other classes. Mages are Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. They are adept of arcane magic and focusing on utility and destruction. Priest are Cleric, Druid, Paladin. Stewards of divine or primal magic, focusing on healing, utility, and defense. And warriors consist of barbarian, fighter, monk, masters of combat who can deal and endure many wounds. So, this is funny. That is an actual callback to old school play, because in old school play, the barbarian was essentially a subclass of the fighting man. And in the original game, there was the magic user, that was a class. And essentially, that you became a wizard through that, and then you became like different wizards through being a magic user. And then so on and so forth. Like the bard in particular was a crazy one. The bard, you had to be you had to be a fighting man and a druid and I think a thief as well, and then you could become the bard. So that's a cute little callback here. A class group has no rules in itself, but prerequisites and other classes may refer to these groups. For example, only members of the mage group might be able to attune to a particular magical item, or a feat might be available only to the members of the warrior group. I actually like that. I like the separation between the classes there. I think that's actually pretty cute. I think that's actually genuinely swell. I think it's fine to like really highlight the class, the 4 right here, because with these 4, you've got the dedicated magical spellcaster, then you've got the holy side, then you've got the pure martial side, and then you've got the weird wonky can fit into anywhere side. So I really like that they're separating the classes like to 4 to really highlight what they actually do. I'm perfectly fine with that. Creating a member of a class. The class description includes a section on how to create a member of that class. That section tells you how to determine your HP, proficiencies, armor training, and more. Okay. Class features. We all know how class features work. Subclasses. Class feature allowed by a section dedicated to a subclass of that class. Subclass may represent an area of specialization for a member of a class, and the subclass grants special features at certain levels, which, that is how subclasses work. Each class is old. Okay, so 3 class highlights here. All 3 classes have new features, as well as a revised versions of old features. When a class offers a decision, a suggested choice is usually presented, especially at lower levels. This makes it easier to create characters quickly, which is one of the major problems of D&D, 5e in particular, is that it takes a relatively decent amount of time to make a character, especially at higher levels. So any time to expedite character creation could be good. And each class's old 20th level feature has moved to 18th level, opening up 20th level for epic boons, which I don't like, because I think epic boons should be earned through like pure roleplay versus not, just willy-nilly taken based off of whatever the frick you feel like. That's my personal opinion. Alrighty. So without further ado, Bard. They part of the expert class set, and their primary is charisma. You get some flavor text, but quite frankly, I think the flavor text is always worthless because it doesn't actually infer on how the class actually plays, and also very importantly, it doesn't infer on how people play the class. Okay. Apparently, they're doing that spell type separation in class groups for the future spells and feats that may be added to the game. I actually like the separation between all of those. I think that's actually perfectly fine. I really dig that. Alrighty. So without further ado, let's actually look at this, shall we? So Bard starts off with 2 proficiency bonus, as all 5e does. Bardic Inspiration, Spellcasting, and Bardock Die is a d6. And the spellcasting looks like it goes down the same route that normal spellcasting does. So at second level, you get expertise in Songs of Restoration, not Song of Restoration. We'll be taking a look at that. At third level, you get your Bard subclass. At fourth, you just get Feat, because they don't want to type out ability score improvement anymore. They just want to type in Feat. Jack of all trades, and at fifth level is when you get your D8, which is really nice. Subclass feature at 6. Font of Bartig Inspiration at 7th. And feat at 8. Expertise at 9th. At 10th, subclass feature, D10. 11th, Magical Secrets. 12th, Feat. 13th, we get +5, which is now, I think, different from the norm, because I believe in, I'm actually going to grab my player's handbook right now. I'm actually just going to grab it. I'm going to grab this to compare and contrast what we are working with here. So let's take a look. Bard, where are you, Bard? Here we go, Bard. Yes, because you didn't get a +6 until 18th level. Now you get a +6, or no, you get +6 at 17th level. Never mind. Huh. For some reason, I thought it was 18th. I don't know why. Oh, you know what's actually interesting? I just realized. So so if you're looking there, on the normal spell, on the normal thing of what do you call it? Of the Bard, there's a whole column dedicated to spells known, which is actually not on here. There is no spells known thing. So actually, we'll be taking a look at how that actually works. Can you actually swap out all your spells at any given time? I think that might be the case. Further magical secrets, feed superior bardic inspiration, feed an epic boon. Okay. Creating a bard, you create a bard, they're D8 plus con, typical stuff, dexterity, charisma, skills, deception, performance, persuasion, or any 3 skills of your choice. I never like whenever there's that text. I never like when it says, do this or that, do whatever. Like, just tell us what you want, and then we can decide if we want that or not, right? Like instead of it saying deception, performance, persuasion, or any 3 skills of your choice, just say any 3 skills of your choice, right? Because ultimately that's what it says. So I think that's just incorrect vernacular right there. Just say any 3 skills of your choice. Like, I'm perfectly fine with the bard not being the deceptive, not being the performer, or not being the persuasive person. I'm okay with that. The bard can do whatever the frick the bard wants to do, right? So just tell us that. Just say skills, any 3 skills, your choice. Weapons, simple weapons, tools, 3 magical instruments of your choice. Light armor, starting equipment. Oh, actually, so interesting. In So starting equipment at first level, you start with the following equipment, or you can forego and spend 100 GP on your equipment of your choice. So this has dagger, magical instruments, entertainer's pack, leather armor, short sword, and 18 gold. I actually really like how the original Player's Handbook does it with the bullet points of choosing. All right, for A, you get to choose a rapier, longsword, or any simple weapon. And then you get to choose between a diplomat's pack or entertainer's pack. I actually like the original one here. So I've already found 2 infractions that I don't like about this new thing. The real question is, will 1D&D have large PC races? No, because I don't see that happening, unfortunately. Then no. In fact, I'm willing to bet, and once again, I'm going to make my own 1D&D. But I'm willing to bet that they are probably going to renege on the whole races thing. I think that they got so much pushback that I think that they're going to renege on the races and do away with them. But we'll see. Multiclassing and the Bard. So that's interesting. So in the Player's Handbook, you do not get a thing about multiclassing as a class, like in that class. You get a thing about multiclassing later on, which I think is better because instead of having to, use up every single class's like text block section on multiclassing, you just have it in one place. And, I think that multiclassing should be optional and should be not in the core part of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't be part of, like, if I pick up a bard, I shouldn't be reading how to multiclass because I think multiclassing should be optional. I don't think it should be mandated. Like, once again, this is always coming from a new player's perspective. But when a new player picks up the bard and say, I want to be a bard, then they get told, okay, multiclassing is part of the game. It's part of the game. It is part of the game, even though the DM may not want multiclassing as part of the game, So multiclassing, you need a 13 in your primary attribute and then a 13 in whatever class you're multiclassing into. If Bard isn't your initial class, here are the proficiencies you gain when you take your first Bard level. 1 skill of your choice, 1 magical instrument of your choice. Yeah, I think that the whole having I think that's a bad design of having multiclassing in the classes portion rather than just having it in the multiclassing portion. That's my personal take, and I don't think that's a hot take either. AD&D is superior than not only is there large player races, but there's mechanical drawbacks to being large. There is technically mechanical drawbacks to being large in 5e, but barely any. Majority of DMs I've played with bans multiclassing anyways. Exactly, right? Exactly. Armor training, you get light armor. Spell slots, add all your bard levels to your appropriate levels from the classes. You prepare spells for each of your classes individually. Yep. But once again, on this thing here, we do not get a tab on spells known. There is no tab on spells known. There's just simply spells prepared and cantrips. So we'll be seeing about that. Okay, first level Bartig Inspiration. This is the reason why we show up to this class as Bard, because we want to show up for the Bardic Inspiration. Boost a D20 test. When another creature within 60 feet of you makes that you can see or hear fails a D20 test, you can use your reaction to give the creature a Bardic Inspiration Die. The creature rolls that die and adds the number rolled to the D20, potentially turning the failure into a success. So no longer is Bardic Inspiration being used as a initial buff. It is being used as a reactionary buff. Which, once again, I do not like 5e's Bard design. 5e's Bard design is primarily they are a spellcaster, and then they get to do some fun things on the side. And I don't like that. I think that they should be actually more like of a truly like they should like their core portion of their class should be buffing and debuffing, and spellcasting is maybe on the side. But right now they're just primarily spellcasters with some fun little gimmicks on the side, which run out relatively quickly. So Bardic Inspiration is now no longer a proactive feature. It is a reactionary feature. And I don't like reactionary features. I like proactive features. I like rewarding players for thinking ahead, for actually doing things before the S hits the F. You know, I like when people actually plan out versus just reacting to whatever, thing goes on. I like people reacting to crazy things as well. It's just a matter of, I like it also when people are being proactive, not just always reactive. So, interesting thing there. Heal. Immediately after another creature within 6 feet of you, you can see your hero takes damage. You can use your action to roll your Bardock Inspiration die and restore a number of hit points to the creature equal to the numbers rolled. Okay. So now bards are temp healers, essentially. 10 viewer. Heck yeah. So, heal. How do I feel about heal? One, I already don't like the reactionary Bardic Inspiration. And now, they have a quick heal. I don't know how to feel about that. I've always seen Bard as the kind of class that would, temporarily heal the party, like with temp HP. But I've never seen them as, like, the magical, staving off the wounds in a lickety-split second. I've just never seen them like that. I see Bards as buffers and debuffers, and like, depending on what you specialize in, maybe there is some, like, more healing on the side in regards of, like, giving temp HP or, reducing the enemy's damage and things like that. But straight up healing, I think, is just boring. And that's my personal take on it. A Bardock Inspiration die, number of uses here. A Bardock Inspiration die is expended when it's rolled. You can confer a Bardock Inspiration die a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Oh my, they are nerfing Bard. What is going on here? So, in 5e, if you start off with a +3 to your charisma, you have 3 uses of Bardic Inspiration. Now, you do not get 3 uses of Bardic Inspiration until 5th level. And by the way, in 5e, by 5th level, you could have a +4. So meaning to your charisma, meaning that you could have 4 uses of Bardic Inspiration. This is flat out a nerf to Bard, specifically Bardic Inspiration, until 17th level. You straight up get less Bardic Inspiration uses until 17th level, which, as our friendly reminder, the majority of people are not going to play. I don't like that. I really don't like that. The Bardic Inspiration is the only thing that makes me want to play Bard, because that's what makes the Bard a Bard, other than, they're just spellcasting. Because if you take away the Bardic Inspiration, they are just straight up spellcasters. And they made it worse. Why did they do that? Oh my goodness. I'm genuinely, like, not okay with what's going on with the Bard here. This is ridiculous. Wow. I really don't like that already. I think this is probably not going to go over well with some people. 1 level dip. The Bard as anyone proficiency bonus increases the character level, not class level. The ability mod to prof bonus is an across-the-board change. They changed that all subclasses they've released for a while now. Once again, I don't want people just dipping all the time, because I think people, like, dipping for non, like in-game reasons is lame. I love it when, like, there's a perfectly, like, in-game reason why you are multiclassing, like, you start off as a fighter, but then, oh hey, you actually saved a conclave of druids, and they taught you the ways of shapeshifting, and thus you take levels of druid. I think that's cool, right? What I don't think is cool is being like, oh, my charisma sucks, it's only a 13, but hey, I'm gonna dip into Bard real quick and give everyone, 2 free, D6s that they can use on test or whatever. Like, I don't like that side. I don't like that at all. Alrighty, so spellcasting. Once again, my least favorite part of Bard. Spellcasting. You have learned to cast spells through your bardic arts. See the player's handbook for rules on spellcasting. Yep. You have the following spells prepared: Color Spray, Disguise Self, Prestidigitation, and Vicious Mockery. Alternatively, you can prepare 2 0th level spells, which are cantrips, and 2 1st level spells of your choice. Any spell you prepare for this class must be an arcane spell, and it must be from one of the following schools of magic: divination, enchantment, illusion, or transmutation. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can practice your bardic arts and replace any spells you have prepared for this class with another arcane spell of the same level, abiding by the school restriction above. Okay, so that is why, that right there is exactly why they don't have spells known tab. Because no longer do we have a finite number of spells known. We do have a finite number of spells known, but they're swapping out constantly. We automatically start off with Color Sprays, Disguise Stealth, Prestidigitation, and Vicious Mockery, which I think are, pretty fine. Like, those are pretty standard affair. But the fact that you can change them out all willy-nilly, I think that's going to lead to a whole bunch of different scenarios, and I think that's perfectly fine. I guess we'll see. I just got added somewhere. Oh, in my Discord there. Alrighty, whenever you finish a long rest, you can change your spells out. At high levels in this class, you prepare more spells. As shown in the bar table, the number there determines the number of different spells you can prepare for each level. For example, a 3rd level bard, you can prepare 2 different 0th level spells, 4 different 1st level spells, and 2 different 2nd level spells. I think that's perfectly okay. I'm okay with that change. I'm okay with them no longer having spells known because you just read, hey, you can prepare this many number of spells. I think that's fine. Is what it is. But once again, I don't want to come to the Bard class to be a spellcaster. If I want to be a spellcaster, I'd go to one of the spellcasting classes, right? Good evening, Upper Plus. Yeah, it's cool for a feature that one gets at high levels, but not for when you get 1st level on your signature feature. Exactly. Okay, so consult the Bard Spells section for recommendations. Oh, I'm fine with recommendations. I think that's perfectly fine for, especially new people being told recommendations. Charisma bonus. Charisma ability. Your spellcasting ability is for your spells is Charisma. You can use Magical Instrument as a spellcasting focus for your spells you prepare for this class. Absolutely. 2nd level Expertise. You gain Expertise in 2 of your skill proficiency bonus of your choice. Performance and Persuasion are iconic choices for a bard if you have proficiency in them. I think... So this little thing here, the 2nd level Expertise, like Performance and Persuasion are iconic choices. I don't want them to tell you what iconic is, right? Like, same with how it's telling you your skills are Deception, Performance, and Persuasion, or any 3 skills of your choice. Like, just tell us what we get instead of trying to, tell us we can choose 3 of any skill choice. Don't tell us, what the recommended is right here. Like, have the recommended in another part, and quit wasting everyone's time reading things that we don't care about. If I'm making a bard and they're not a performance or a persuasion-y bard, then don't have that there to lull people into that. You know what I'm saying? I'm DMing TOA at the moment, and my party killed... Ooh, okay. I never thought it would happen, but they rolled so good. Sometimes good things happen if you roll good. Sometimes. Alrighty. Now, Songs of Restoration, because if I recall, yes, in the player's handbook, it is not Songs of Restoration, it is Song of Restoration, which I think is right there. You have learned to use music, poetry, and dance to heal wounds and maladies. When you reach certain levels in this class, you add a specific spell to your Songs of Restoration repertoire, as shown on the Songs of Restoration repertoire table. You always have that spell prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare. Oh, why? Why? I don't like that. Oh my. They're literally making the bard more of a spellcaster. They're literally taking away... They're making Bardic Inspiration worse, and they're taking away features that make a bard and just making them spellcasters. That is so lame. The Song of Rest was interesting, right? Because when you go to sit down and take a short rest, and, you know, everyone's all jacked up, you have a bard in the party. Hey, guess what? Having a bard in the party, they're entertaining you during that short rest, and you get extra hit points along the way. That's cool. You know, that tells you that if you do not have a bard in the party, you are going to heal less in a short rest. That is a clear class design of them. If you have a bard in the party, when you take a short rest, you get more HP back. That is a awesome class design. This is not an awesome class design. This is straight up saying, hey, you know, they're like a cleric. That is so incredibly boring. That is so bad design. I genuinely don't know who, like, I'm gonna have to look at who wrote this, but I think the person that wrote this straight up, like, just doesn't want bards to be bards. I think they just want bards to be spellcasters. And they're trying their darndest to remove any sort of thing that isn't spellcasting from this class. That is genuine. Like, I think that's terrible. Like, I'm so not liking this already. That is ridiculous. My question would be, they are now level 6 and they need around 7+ sessions to go to Omu. Do you think that this is a problem? It's only a problem if your pacing is, it depends on what your pacing is, right? Like, do your players enjoy hacking their way through the jungles of TOA? If so, then there's no problem in it. Also, another important thing is, instead of just going straight to Omu, your players could be going to all sorts of different fun locations along the way, right? You can slot a bunch of fun, you know, encounters and, more importantly, like dungeons along the way before they just straight up reach Omu. There's a lot of fun things you can do there. So I don't think it's a problem. What I do think is a problem is this Bard class design. I think this is terrible. At 3rd level, you get your Bard subclass, of course. At 4th level, you get a feat, which is now you gain ability score improvement feat or another feat of your choice, which I guess we'll be taking a look at later. 5th level, Jack of all trades. You can add half your proficiency bonus rounded down to any ability check you make that uses skill proficiency that you lack that doesn't otherwise have proficiency bonus. For example, if you make an athletics check and lack athletics, you can add half of your proficiency bonus rounded down, which means you get a +1. You got a +1 to your athletics check, people. Awesome stuff. Who cares? 6th level subclass feature, 7th level font of Bardock Inspiration. Oh my! So, for those of you that don't know, in the original Bard, you regain all of your expanded uses of Bardock Inspiration back when you finish a short rest at 5th level. Now you do not get your Bardic Inspiration back till 7th level. They went out of their way to make Bard terrible. Oh my, why did they do this? They just straight up said, yeah, screw bards, you know, they don't deserve this. Additionally, if a creature rolls a Bardic Inspiration dice and gets a 1 after any rerolls you might have, that use of Bardic Inspiration isn't expended. Okay, so I like that addendum. I really like that. Like, if you have a D8 at this point, you roll a D8 and you get a 1, that feels really bad. But guess what, people? It's not as bad because now that you roll 1, you get your usage back. But guess what? At this level, you've only got 3 uses. So it's, oh my gosh, I hate this. This is so bad. So bad. Oh. 8th level feat, 9th level expertise. And guess what? Here they don't point out, expertise. What else is Bard good in? Like, they don't have it here. Like, you gain expertise in 2 skills of your choice. Just have that there as well. Just literally have that right there at the 2nd level. Subclass feature at 10. 11th, Magical Secrets. You have collected magical knowledge from your wide spectrum of disciplines. Choose a spell list, Arcane, Divine, or Primal. Whenever you prepare spells of this class, up to 2 of the spells you prepare can be from the chosen list and from any school of magic. The prepared spells otherwise follow the rules of your bardic spellcasting feature. Fine. I dig that. I really like the separation between Arcane, Divine, and Primal. I really like that. 14th level, subclass feature. 15th level, magical secrets. Same thing. 16th level feat. 18th level, superior Bardic Inspiration. When you roll initiative, you regain 2 expended use of a Bardic Inspiration. Whoa! You know why you gotta regain those uses of Bardic Inspiration? Because you barely get any. Gosh darn it. Oh my gosh, I hate this Bard class so much. So has Wizards of the Coast just accepted they can't design martial characters, so they have literally made everything a spellcaster? Do bards have magical secrets? If not, they really been nerfed. The bard has been nerfed severely. I don't like this at all. 19th level feat and 20th level epic boon. And as I mentioned before, I don't like epic boons being part of the class design. I like epic boons as being part of the story, which should have nothing to do with your class, right? Like, it should have everything to do with your decisions in game, not decisions out of game. Your epic boon should be because you stopped the aberrant beholder meteor from crashing down into Baldur's Gate and diverted it off into the ocean. The Gith Yankee, overlord granted you with an epic boon to further smite the forces of, further aberrations. And you get this epic boon. Like, you should get epic boons for doing epic things in-game. You shouldn't get epic boons for simply following the path that the game dictates you do, right? I don't like that design at all. We get a prepared bard spell list here, which is clearly for people that just want to hop into the game. I think that's perfectly fine. And as mentioned before, I think that should be a separate thing. It should not be like pressed into the game, like into the class, like this expertise thing here, or whatever else. I think that they should be like, hey, newbie, if you want something to help you out, look at this thing. And then you look at, okay, second level, I'll take Dissonant Whispers and Healing Word, sure. At third level, I'll take Charm Person and Blur and Shatter. Okay, cool. I think that's perfectly fine. We get a big old thing here. Bard subclasses, which I assume are going to operate as per normal subclasses. You pick them, and you get what you get. We get College of Lore listed in here, which is one of the more popular choices for Bard. Bonus proficiencies, cool. Once again, so here they make the distinction. You get proficiencies in Arcana, History, and Nature, but if you already have those, then you choose another one, right? Like, I think that's perfectly fine, because you are becoming a lore bard, because you're becoming the nerd. You pick up Arcana, History, and Nature, but if you've already got those, then you can pick another one. Like, I'm perfectly fine with them saying, hey, if you have this, then take that. Versus, once again, looking at the first level thing here of, oh my gosh, my mouse doesn't want to work. The skills here are Deception, Performance, Persuasion, or any three of your choice. Just tell us what we get, and then we can decide not to take that or not, right? Cutting words. You learn how to use your wit to supernaturally distract your foe. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes an ability check or attack roll, you can use your reaction to expend one use of Bardic Inspiration, rolling a Bardic Inspiration die and subtracting the number rolled from the creature's roll, potentially turning it into a failure. That's literally not changed. I think that is, in fact, word for word. Except what has changed is Cutting Words specifically states in the player's handbook, you can choose this feature after the creature makes its roll, but before the DM determines whether the attack roll or ability check succeeds or fails, or before the creature deals its damage. The creature is immune if it can't hear you or if it's immune to being charmed. That is lacking here. So, in a sense, that is a buff, because you can say, alright, DM can be like, alright, I rolled a 25 to hit you, and then you're like, screw you, DM, I'm going to roll my dice and turn that 25 into a 23. Does a 23 hit, But also, very importantly, is the last addendum there. A creature is immune if it can't hear you or if it's immune to being charmed. So if you're going up against a creature that can't be charmed or is, deaf, then you simply can't use Cutting Words. But now you can. Cutting Inspiration through your studies. When a creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration dice, that creature can roll the die twice and use the higher of the two rolls. So, I like this addendum. I like that. Because normally the lore bard is just straight up they get more spells from other classes at 6th level. This right here, it says, okay, bard, your class feature, the defining class feature, has a change to it. Instead of rolling the 1 at this point, the D8, and just picking whatever is on there, you get to roll twice and you get to choose the one you want. Cool. You know, that's cool. I like that. I don't like the fact that the rest of the classes got gutted for it. 10th level, improve cutting word. When you use your cutting word feature on a creature, you can deal psychic damage to that creature equal to the number rolled on the Bartic Inspiration die plus your charisma modifier. So at 10th level, you are using a D10. So essentially, you are doing, at 10th level, you're presumably going to have at least a +4. You're doing a D10 +4 damage as a reaction on your turns that using your Bardock Inspiration. I'm okay with that. But once again, you're not using it every single round because you've only got like barely any uses of it. So, is what it is. Peerless Skill. When you make an ability check and fail, you can expend one of your use of Bardock Inspiration and roll the dice and add the number rolled to the ability check, potentially turning it into a success. If the check still fails, the Bardock Inspiration isn't expended. I think it's fine. So, who likes playing Warlock-a-Mole? That's all they're good for. Bard is my favorite class. This one is sad. This legit, like, so yeah, we're done with Bard, and I'm here to tell you, I do not like anything that they've done with the Bard. They've essentially just really emphasized the spell casting. They de-emphasized the Bardic Inspiration. I don't like it. I really don't like it, and this further is going to emphasize me to make my version of 1D&D. And in my version of 1D&D, I will be making the Bard truly a Bard, and they will be a spellcaster, maybe second or third. But currently, right now, the Bard is first a spellcaster through and through. And especially, I think one of the most saddest things for me is not just the Bardic Inspiration, but also the Songs of Rest. They took a feature of the Bard, which ingrained into the world the sense that when you have a Bard in the party, everyone feels better when they take a short rest. That is so thematic, right? And instead, they took away thematic, they took away mechanics, and just said, oh yeah, Bards get these spells. That is so incredibly boring. That is so bad. That is like they gutted this class, and I genuinely don't know why. Like, I do know why. I know why they gutted this class, because whoever designed this really likes spellcasters, and they don't like anything else. That can be the only thing I can think of. I just don't get it. Now moving on to Ranger. So Ranger, before I even start reading into this, I like the idea of Rangers, right? I like the idea that there is a class that emphasizes the exploration side of the game. Because D&D is 3 things. It is combat, exploration, and roleplay, specifically social interaction. But the problem is, in 5e, there is next to no exploration rules. And in the 5e Player's Handbook, the Ranger straight up says, remove features of exploration. It says that. Not verbatim, of course, but through the text, it says remove features from exploration. And that is once again terrible game design. The Ranger should enhance the exploration side of the game. It shouldn't remove it. And that's what it does. So let's take a look and see if Ranger actually does that. Starting off, Ranger. Once again, creating the Ranger thing. Perfectly fine with that. Hit points, 1d10, 10 plus con. Yep. Saving throws, strength and dex. Skills. Once again, don't say athletic, stealth, survival, or choose 3 from. Say choose 3 from. What's the point of having say athletic, stealth, or survival, or choose 3? Like, never just have or. You know, like, just say, choose 3 between the following. Like, why are they using this strange vernacular? I don't get it. Alrighty, much like with Bard, we're seeing that the Ranger no longer has a spells known table here. Let me pull the Ranger in my player's handbook. The Ranger does not have a spells known tab, and now Rangers have cantrips, because originally Rangers did not have cantrips. So let's see what they've done with this, shall we? Armor training, the same as normal. Multi-classing in a Ranger, once again, I do not think that multi-classing should be right there, right as you're reading this. I think that's, one, overwhelming for new players, and two, just unneeded. Just have a multi-classing section like outside of the classes. Don't have multi-classing in the classes. It makes things a lot cleaner that way. I think it's just genuinely a better thing to have multi-classing outside of the class features. Ranger class features, let's take a look. You get expertise, okay. That is new. Yep, that's new. Favorite enemy. You are adept at focusing your ire on a single foe. You always have Hunter's Mark spell prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare. Moreover, you don't have to concentrate on the spell once you have cast it. It lasts for a full duration until you end with a bonus action or until you are incapacitated. That is a huge buff, because that is just flat out just a bonus d6 of damage that they're doing on top of whatever they're doing. So that's a pretty big deal. Man, that sucks about Bard. That's going to make subclass like College of Swords all but useless. I'm here to tell you that I am going to be pushing out my version of 1D&D, and I will not stand by the atrocity that Was the Coast has done to Bards. Anything after 2E has done martials dirty. 2E had some cheese and martials sure. 2-weapon fighting was broken and weapon speed was abusable. But slaughtering your foes with a pair of daggers is fun. As it should be, right? Like magic is strong, so like they shouldn't make, melee weak. Is what it is. Spellcasting. You have learned to channel your magical essence, blah, blah, blah. You have the following spells prepared: Cure Wounds, Guidance, Hunter's Mark, and Thorn Whip. Alternatively, you compare 2 0th level spells to, from the Primal Spell feature. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can swap out your spells, yada yada, blah, blah, blah. We've seen this before. Once again, I really hope that they don't make the Ranger just a spell bot. Rangers should, once again, their spellcasting should be second. They are martials first, right? Second level fighting style. Okay, you get a fighting style. When you gain a feat at later levels, fighting style feats are among your options, even though you aren't a member of the warrior group. Okay, I like that. Right there, that's saying that the Ranger is not truly a part of the warrior group, but they lean into the warrior group. I like that, right? Also, very importantly, what we're missing immediately that I can note is Natural Explorer. The Natural Explorer is the whole thing I was talking about, which removes part of the exploration rules. Because difficult terrain doesn't slow your group down. Your group can't become lost. If you're traveling alone, you can move stealthily. That right there, that adds to the game. But the other things don't. So, yeah, that's interesting that they removed that. So we'll see if they do anything about that. Ranger subclass. You get your Ranger subclass. You get your feat. You get your extra attack. Roving. Your speed increases by 10 feet while you aren't wearing heavy armor. You also have a climbing speed and swim speed equal to your speed. Wow, that is huge. And that is massive. So straight up, I'm trying to think of this mechanically, right? So mechanically, at 6th level, let's say you're a human and you're just swimming around. You're swimming and you can only swim 15 feet in a round. And then all of a sudden you go kill some goblins. And then all of a sudden, you can just start Michael Phelpsing it up in here. You can swim 40 feet in water. That's pretty bonkers. I think I'm okay with the Rangers having more speed. I'm okay with that. But giving them both climb and swim speed equal to your speed, I think that's a little bit hardcore. I think it should be you should choose between the two or something like that. I don't know. Obviously. 8th level feat, 9th level expertise, 10th level subclass, 11th level tireless. Primal forces now help fuel your journeys. Temporary HP. Whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can give yourself a number of temp HP equal to 1d8 plus your proficiency bonus. And decrease exhaustion. If you are exhausted when you finish a short rest, your level of exhaustion decreases by 1. I like this. Exhaustion is a game mechanic which is incredibly underutilized, and it's something that I will be utilizing in my 1D&D. Exhaustion is incredibly impactful because it doesn't matter if you get hit for all of your HP in a day. If you take a long rest, you get all of your HP back. But guess what? Exhaustion does not follow that rule. Exhaustion natively is when you finish a long rest, you remove 1 level of exhaustion. Meaning that if you get hit for 3 levels of exhaustion, then you wake up the next day, you're still at 2 levels of exhaustion. I like carryover effects that make you feel the effect of combat and traps and whatever else. And the fact that the ranger gets something that allows them to overcome exhaustion quicker than everyone else, I think that's very thematic. I think that's fun mechanically. I think that's intriguing. I like that. I really do. 12th level feat. 13th level, Nature's Veil. You invoke spirits of nature to magically hide yourself from view. As a bonus action, you can expend a spell slot and become invisible until the end of your next turn. I like that. I love that because that is highlighting that as a ranger, hey, instead of using your spells on spells, because you're not a true spellcaster, use your spells on something else. I like that. I think that's good. I think that is genuinely good design. 14th level subclass feature, 15th level feral senses. You gain blind sight to a range of 30 feet. I dig that. You're a 15th level ranger. You've seen some stuff, and you're now blind sight. Cool. Foe Slayer. Your hunter's mark now deals an extra 1d10 damage to its target rather than an extra 1d6. Okay. 18th level feat, 20th level, 19th level feat, 20th level boon. So overall, I think that the ranger changes have been decent-ish. But this tells me that I know for a fact that Wizards of the Coast is going to just straight up start not even caring about the whole exploration side of the game, which I think exploration needs to be part of a game because exploring a magical world should feel magical. But without any mechanics behind it, it is not magical. It's just straight up, you show up to the place. Because you don't have any rules for it. The video does make it seem like they want to make rangers more magical. LOL, rip exploration, minus 50 from 1D&D. Absolutely. Interesting. So there's some things I like about this, right? I like the feral senses. I like the Nature's Veil. I like the tireless. I like the roving to a certain degree. I like the fighting style and the fact that there's feats that you can take from the warrior group, even though you're not part of the warrior group. I like that. I really do. I really like that because in my mind, the ranger is a fighter that more is about not fighting a straight up fight. Like, whenever I think of all of the warrior type subclasses, I always think of the baseline being the fighter, and then everyone else is like a derivative of the fighter. You've got the barbarians like the fighter, except they're okay with getting hit more. The rogue is, or not the rogue, but the paladin. Who's even in the warrior group these days? The monk is like a fighter, except that they're more in tune with, nature and, things of that nature, right? Like, I like that. I like the separation of the ranger not being a warrior. I'm okay with that. I dig that. That leads to a lot of intriguing things. Prepared ranger spells, the classic stuff. But once again, I think that rangers should be spellcasters second or maybe even third most. Rangers should not be spellcasters first by any means. Spellcasters should be spellcasters first. No one else should be spellcasters first. Here's looking at you, Bard. Bard, you should not be a spellcaster first. Even though you are in 5e and 1D&D, apparently. Hunter! Okay, let's take a look at the subclass, what they're doing with this. You stalk prey. Hunter's Prey. Your tenacity can wear down even the most resilient foes when you hit a creature with a weapon or an armed strike as part of the attack action on your turn. The weapon deals an extra 1d8 damage to the target. If it's missing any of its HP, you can deal the extra damage only once per turn. I personally think that just doing more damage is boring. I've always found that if you have a mechanic that does more damage or does something intriguing, most people are going to just lean into the does more damage because it's boring and is effective, and people are just going to take the more boring and more effective thing than the more intriguing thing. Hunter's Lore. When a creature is marked by your Hunter's mark, you know whether the creature has any immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities, and if the creature has any, you know what they are. I like that a lot. You say, hey, dragon. No, maybe dragon's a little bit too much. Maybe you look at that giant there, and you're like, man, does that giant have any immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities? Well, guess what? In 5e, like next to nothing has any vulnerabilities, but maybe they'll change that in 1D&D. Who knows? I'll change that in my 1D&D. But they'll be like, oh, you look at the fire giant. The fire giant's actually immune to fire, so wizard, don't cast fireball. Cool, got it. Things like that. I like that. Multi-attack. Oh, very important. Do they have a 5th level? Do they attack twice at 5th level? Yeah, they attack twice. Okay. Just making sure. You can attack twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. Very good. 10th level multi-attack. You can now do Conjure Barrage spell. Boring. Incredibly boring. Just when you do, the damage is reduced by D8 for each slot level below 3rd. Sure. I do not like what they've done with this and Bard, where they're like, hey, once you reach this level, you can cast a spell. That's so boring. So incredibly boring. Monkey, Nature Man, they're about training hard, martial arts, discipline, and ki, basically something inspired by chi from real life, which is in tune with nature. Like, chi is like an infusion of nature and the self and the world around you and things of that nature, right? More in tune with oneself. And oneself is part of nature. So yeah, I do not like class features that say cast a spell. That is incredibly boring, incredibly simple, and incredibly mundane. 14th level, Superior Hunter's Defense. When you are hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to have the attack's damage against yourself, and you can redirect the other half of the damage to one creature other than you that you can see within 5 feet of yourself. That's a feature right there. That's incredibly fun. It's a combination of the Rogue's Uncanny Dodge and a combo of the Monk's Redirect attack. I like that. That's a fun feature right there. Too bad you got to go to 14th level, which no one's ever going to play. Too bad. So that is Ranger. Overall, I think overall Ranger did okay. They omitted anything having to do with exploration, which I think is a bad design because Ranger should enhance exploration, and there's next to nothing about exploration in this entirety right here. I am perfectly fine with them dipping into the warrior side of things. I am perfectly fine with them using their spells to do abilities like turn invisible. I think that's cool. I like the tireless here. I like the fighting style. I like the roving. When it comes to the subclass here, I like the majority of this, except for the Conjure Barrage. I think that's incredibly boring. But other than that, I think the Ranger was okay. If I had to rate, reviewing these, I'd give a Bard a solid with 1 out of 10, because I'm not going to go to 0. It's a 1 out of 10. I'm going to give the Ranger, let's say a 6. It's above mid. The Ranger is just above, it's acceptable. It's acceptable. And now, lastly here, let's take a look at Rogue. Rogue. Okay. Rogue, hit points and saving throws. And once again, why tell us acrobatics, investigation, sleight of hand, or stealth, or choose 4 from? Why tell us that? Just say choose 4 from. Why have the parentheses here? It makes no sense to me. Weapons, simple weapons, martial weapons that have the finesse property. Interesting. Because that is not what rogues are proficient in 5e. Rogues, specifically, have proficiency in simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. So them saying here, martial weapons that have the finesse property is interesting. Armor training, light armor, the starting equipment. Once again, I don't like the starting equipment thing here. I think it's a little bit ugly. I like the choose A, B, or C thing with bullet points on the side. I like that a lot more. Once again, multiclassing. I don't like the multiclassing being part of the class design. I think that multiclassing should just be in its own chapter in the other side of the book. First level expertise. You gain expertise in 2 skills. And once again, I knew they were going to do this. Sleight of hand and stealth are iconic choices for a rogue. Don't tell us that. Who freaking cares? You know, just if you're gonna have like the hey, you know, newbie choose a let's make a character real quickly. Have that be on the side somewhere else, right? Don't waste our time here. Sneak attack. Once on each of your turns, when you take the attack action, you can deal extra damage to one creature you hit with an attack roll. If you are attacking with a finesse weapon or ranged weapon, if at least one of the following requirements are met. You have advantage on the attack roll, and at least one of your allies is within 5 feet of the target. Your ally isn't incapacitated, and you don't have a disadvantage on the attack roll. So, let's take a look to see how that differs vernacularly from the player's handbook. Oh, they just nerfed Rogue. They nerfed him. In the player's handbook, once per turn, you can deal an extra 1d6 damage to one creature you hit with an attack roll. That right there infers that if you use a reaction to hit somebody, then you can deal a sneak attack. This right here specifically says once on each of your turns, when you make an attack action, you can deal extra damage. On your turn. Meaning that outside of your turn, you cannot deal sneak attack damage. Cheese, life force, I know that's extremely similar to simple nature, but when you say nature, you immediately picture a forest with deers and whatnot. Cheese sounds far different in its application 5e. Yeah, but, you know, people, I would say not everyone envisions a forest when they hear nature, right? Some people envision, like, the world, you know, the world in all of its essence. So, right here, rogues immediately got hit with a huge nerf. Huge nerf. You cannot sneak attack outside of your turn. Big deal. To determine the extra damage, roll a number of d6s equal to half your rogue level, round up, and add the... Why would they say that? You don't make people think of math, right? Don't say deal a d6 of damage to half your rogue's level, round up, and add the dice together. Just have the table. You know, the table tells you exactly what to do, right? But why would you say, like... It feels so out of place that they say that, you know, take your levels and round and have them and then round up. Like, it feels so out of place. It's strange. Just say, like, consult the table. Which is also very interesting because in the majority of cases in 5e, whenever you have anything, you round down. The overwhelming majority of cases, whenever you have something, you round down. You don't round up. So it's saying round up here could be a little bit confusing as well. Just say consult the table. The extra damage type is the same as the weapon's damage type. Interesting. Okay, so that's important. The extra damage type is the same as the weapon's damage type. That's very important because that means that it does stack with crits. I actually made a video about that. Anyone heard any news on the D&D skirmish war game they announced a while ago? Alex, that is going to be part of the Dragonlance adventure. So the Dragonlance book, which is an adventure, is going to have the book, but on the side, there is also going to be a separate product, which is a skirmish war game, and you can use that to adjudicate war games in your D&D game. And so that'll be coming out later with Dragonlance. I like the new weapon proficiency wording. It works better for reskin and expanded weapons list, for sure. Okay, so sneak attack got nerfed in that you cannot use it outside of your turn, but they made sure that the extra damage type is the same as the weapon's damage type, which means that it confers to the critical hit, which is good. Thieves can't. You know Thieves can't. Pretty standard. Cunning action. As bonus action, you can dash, disengage, or hide. Perfect. That is what we like to see. Rogue subclass. You know, we know the rogue subclasses. Feat. Uncanny dodge at 5th level. You can when a creature you can see hits you with an attack roll, very important attack roll, you can use your reaction to have the attack's damage against you, round down. You know, that's pretty standard. 6th level expertise. 6th level feature, 7th level expertise, 8th level feat, 9th level evasion. So in 5e, you get evasion at 7th level. Alrighty. So I figured out what they're doing here. And I really don't like what they're doing here. They are really, really trying to push people playing quickly. Like, they haven't said it yet, but what they're doing is they're stretching out the class features. Because normally, you got Uncanny Dodge at 7th level, or Evasion at 7th level, now you get it at 9th level. What that is telling me is they're not saying that Evasion should be a higher thing. What they're saying is you need to level up quicker. But that's not how people are going to play. I can promise you. People are not going to play much differently than they play 5e. Which is to say, the average group of 5e players plays from levels 3 to levels 10/11. People aren't going to look at this and be like, okay, we got to pick up the tempo of the game. We got to level up quicker. Let's go. People are not going to play like that. I can promise you. People are going to play how they've been playing, where they level up at a respectable rate. And they end a campaign once you get to a certain highish level. I don't like that they're pushing that. And which is why, when I make my version of 1D&D, it's going to be levels 1 through 10. You know, very, very short, concise. And if you want to play outside of that bounds, then that's fine. There'll be stuff for that. But stretching out the numbers to try and force people to play high levels is not going to work. People are not going to play high levels that aren't already playing it. Because a lot of people just don't want to play it. 1, DMs don't want to prep for it. 2, groups fall apart. 3, campaigns wrap up nicely. 4, you know, like, the features get ridiculous. You know, the list goes on and on of why people are not playing high level. And I promise you, stretching out features to move them about is not going to help the problem. It just is not. It's not going to work. So I do not like that. Evasion, as you all know, if you make a dexterity saving throw, you always take half. Unless you succeed, then you take nothing. You get a feat, you get subclass, you get reliable talent. When you make an ability check that uses one of your skill or tool proficiencies, you can treat a d20 roll as a 9 or lower as a 10. Pretty decent. Feat, subtle strikes. When you attack, you know how to exploit a target's distraction. You have advantage on any attack roll that targets a creature within 5 feet of you, at least one of your allies who isn't incapacitated. That's incredibly strong. Incredibly so. Yeah, that's incredibly strong. You just straight up get advantage on attacks. And that's strong. Subclass feature, Slippery Mind. You gain proficiency in Wisdom and Charisma saving throws. You know, that's pretty awesome. I dig that. I dig that a lot. Mouse work with me here. Feat, 17th level, Elusive. You are so evasive that attacks rarely gain the upper hand. No attack roll has advantage against you while you aren't incapacitated. I like that. You are a high-level rogue. You are used to dodging, dipping, ducking, and weaving. Nobody can get advantage against you while you are still moving around the place. I like that. I really like that. That tells a tale. That tells you that this rogue is someone who is so perceptive and so agile and so swift that nobody can get the drop on them. Even if you blind them or even if you are about to, ambush them, they are still able to duck out of the worst of things. I really like that. That's telling a tale right there. That's fun. 18th level, Stroke of Luck. If you fail a D20 test, you can turn the roll into a 20. You can use this feature. Once you use this feature, you can't use it until you use a short or long rest. 19th level feat, 20th level epic boon. Once again, I don't like the epic boons being tied to the classes. I don't like it. I disagree with the crit stacking. It's still not the weapon attack dice. But I'd have to look at the first UA, but the extra damages type is the same as the weapon's damage type, which I'd have to look again, but that might be the case that it doesn't stack with crit natively. We'll have to see. What else was there? I thought the Dragonlance thingy was something different. The skirmish war game I heard of had Harpers and Zentarum in it. I don't know. Please call yours 2 D&D just despite the dumb naming method. 1 D&D is an incredibly terrible name job. I'm not going to lie. I guess MMOTM shows us that the new MM will look like, so XP for CR is not changing. If they want characters to level up faster, they could still lower the advancement thresholds. But here's the thing about XP. Next to nobody actually uses XP. Next to nobody, right? Like, that XP isn't the problem of why people aren't leveling up quickly. I'm going to make like a little list on why people don't play to high levels, but there are multiple reasons. And XP is not the big one. Like, XP could be like one of the minor ones, but it mostly comes down to DMs don't want to prep for high level play. People, campaigns need to be short, not long, because the longer a game goes, the bigger a chance it has to fall apart, and the numbers get too high for people to want to track and deal with. Yeah, I don't think the damage type makes the difference with the new crit rule. Sneak attack dice are not the weapon attack dice. Yeah, we'll have to consult the tomes at some point here. Unless we get better rules for XP outside of the monster encounters, which, once again, in my 1D&D, we will. In my 1D&D, we will. Maybe I will call mine 2D&D, 3D&D. Who the heck? What the heck do I know? Alrighty, so the subclass we get to look at is Thief. Thief, we get fast hands. You have additional bonus options for your bonus action of your cunning action. You can use the search action, and you can make a dexterity check, sleight of hand, to pick a lock or disarm a trap with thieves' tools, or pick a pocket. Pop quiz, anyone? How many people have used the search action in combat? How many of you have ever done that? Ever? Whether that be an action or a bonus action, who has used the search action in the midst of combat? Anybody? Anybody? Hands? Class? Hands? No. I personally have, because I implemented an encounter where they had to use the search action in the midst of combat to survive. But you have to literally you have to create that scenario where you say, hey, there's something in this room, you need to physically search for it using a action to search. Go. Unless you do that, no one is ever going to use the search action in combat. Which makes the bonus action of the search action incredibly irrelevant, because that's never going to happen, right? But the one time it does happen, then it will be super cool, because if you have the group and you say, hey gang, you have to use a search action to find the thing in the room while the monsters are fighting you or the traps are hitting you or whatever, you're in initiative. And if you have the thief in the party, then the thief can be like, oh, that's perfect, I can use my bonus action to search too. That's cool. That feels awesome. But it's such a very contrived thing you have to do. It's you have to go out of your way to make that worthwhile, right? Alrighty, let's take a look at the comments here. Thief got nerfed to hell, lol. In Player's Handbook Thief, you could chuck acid or oil alchemist fire at them. Oof, with the bonus action. I did XP as written my first campaign ever. It wasn't fun for anyone, and only encouraged my players to become murder hobos when they felt they weren't leveling fast enough. Yes, so Jordan, that is going to be something I'm going to be addressing in my 1D&D, is XP. XP can be good, but here's the trick with XP. The way players earn XP is the way the game is going to be played. So if you have a game of XP where you only get XP for killing monsters, then your game is about killing monsters. But what if you get XP for other things? If you get XP for retrieving gold from the dungeon, then guess what the game's going to be about? The game's going to be about retrieving gold from the dungeon. If you get XP for clearing a level of the dungeon, then your game is going to be about clearing XP or clearing levels of the dungeon. If you get XP from making friends, then guess what the game's going to be about? The game's going to be about making friends, right? So that is that I'm going to be making a whole XP system for my 1D&D, focusing on different ways we can incorporate XP that isn't just killing monsters, because killing monsters is incredibly boring. Use magic device ability is cool, but not enough to make Thief viable. Unfortunately not. Alrighty, they also get second story work. You gain a climb speed equal to your speed, and when you take the jump action, you can make a dexterity check instead of a strength check. Perfect. Perfectly fine with that. Supreme Sneak, you have advantage on every stealth check you make, provided you aren't wearing medium or heavy armor. That's awesome! Because normally, in the player's handbook, you didn't get that until 9th level. And not only that, but so in the player's handbook, Supreme Sneak, starting at 9th level, you have advantage on stealth checks if you move no more than half of your speed on the same turn. So this is just flat out a supreme upgrade. Supreme Sneak, you have advantage on every stealth check you make, provided you aren't wearing medium or heavy armor. Perfect. As a rogue, you're not wearing medium or heavy armor anyway, and you get it at an earlier level. Perfect. You get advantage. Cool. You being a thief, you are an expert at sneaking. You are better than everybody else. You get advantage. That's awesome. I like that. Use Magic Device, 10th level, which was originally at 13th level in the player's handbook. You can attune up to 4 magic items at once. Cool. Okay, let's go. Let's go. That's cool. Whenever you use a magic item property that expends charges, roll a d6. On a roll of 6, use the property without expending the charge. Cool. I actually really dig that. Wow. And scrolls. You can use a spell scroll that bears a cantrip or first level spell. You can also try to use the spell scroll that contains the higher level spells, but you must first succeed on a Arcana check. A successful check the spell from the scroll, and you can use the intelligence for your spellcasting ability for this casting. On a failed check, the scroll disintegrates. Perfect. What I will say is though, so I like all of these, right? I like you can attune up to 4 things. I like the charges thing. I like the scroll thing. But unfortunately, what is missing is the use magic device in the player's handbook. You have learned enough about the workings of magic that you can improvise the use. You ignore all class, race, and level requirements for the use of magical items. That is one of the major draws for being a thief, is that you can pick up anything and it works. I think that needs to be placed back in here. Like, I dig the 4 attunement slots thing, I dig the charges, I dig the scroll, but they need to put back in the fact that you can use anything. Like, that's part of the reason you are a thief, is because you are stealing, right? That is awesome. They need to, so I like the things they put in, but I do not like how they omitted a huge thing. So put that back in. And lastly, Thieves Reflexes, which was 17th level, now it's 14th. You can now take up a second bonus action on your turns, provided it's a bonus action from Cunning Action. You can use this feature a number of times. You go to your perceived bonus. You can yeah, I like that. I like that. So yeah, they need to seriously put back in the thief thing, and then I think the thief is actually in a really great place. I think that the thief is near as badass and awesome as it should be. I do not like how they stretched the main class, however. Evasion going up to 9th level, I don't think that's a good thing. I do not think that's a good thing at all. I'm okay with the rogue not getting sneak attack outside of the turn. I'm perfectly okay with that. What else? So going down the list here. Sneak attack, I'm okay with the change to sneak attack not being outside of your turn. I'm okay with that, personally. To do what else? I think the rogue, I think they didn't butcher it terribly so, but that evasion going up to 9th level, oh, so bad. And of course, as a friendly reminder, I don't like the epic boon being tied to classes, because that should not be tied to your class. It should be tied to the story that you're playing, the adventure that you're running. It shouldn't be tied to the class. And so yeah, so I gave the Bard a 1. I gave the Ranger a 6. I'm gonna give the Rogue a 7. I think the Bard is beyond repair. The Bard is straight up. There is nothing you can do. Like, there's no subtle changes you can make to the Bard to make that a good class. The Bard, they straight up butchered immensely. The Bard is beyond repair. It is ruined. It is foobar. The Ranger is not beyond repair. The Ranger only needs a few tweaks, and it's a really solid class, in my opinion. Just a few more tweaks, and it's really solid. The Rogue, barely any tweaks, and it's a really solid class. Barely any. But, my God, that Bard. They ruined that Bard. They butchered that Bard. So bad. I give XP for discoveries and finding secrets in my Chult campaign. One of my players complained, but my character doesn't like to explore. I mean, ultimately, then make a new character. Here's my pitch, right? I would say, hey gang, we're going to play an adventure where you're exploring a jungle. Make a character that wants to explore the jungle. And if you show up to the table and don't want to explore, then you made a bad character. Start over. You heard it here. 2D&D. We're here to make friends. But rogue's damage is really, really bad in optimized party, and their utility doesn't compare with a caster. They need a reaction, sneak, attack, IMO. I mean, but if you just give them more things to do, right? Like the rogue has a lot of versatility in that they can, they get the burst damage in with their sneak attack, and their subclass really leans into, like, a very special thing. Like the thief could be the master thief, right? The assassin could be the master assassin. They've got a niche to fulfill. I think the rogue main class is a little bit weak. I think that there is a few tweaks that they need to make, but ultimately, I don't think that damage should be the end all be all. I think that we need versatility and options outside of just I deal more damage. So moving on to feats. Feats is a big deal of the game. Even though feats are purely optional, almost nobody actually runs feats as optional. So let's take a look at some feats, shall we? Pulling up my own player's handbook here to look at the feats. Parts of a feat. Level. Each feat has a level. To take a feat, you must have the requisite level. Prerequisite. You must meet any prerequisite of the feat. I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with gating some feats to levels and to stats and to other feats, because there are, quite frankly, some feats which I feel like you should be earned, and some feats you can just get so early on that it's worthless, right? If a feat is repeatable, you can take it more than once. They should have had a repeatable tag in the player's handbook for sure, because there wasn't. Ability to score improvement. So this is the standard one. You get 2 of 1. Or 1 of 2. Oh, no, interesting. You can increase 1 ability score of your choice by 2, or increase 2 ability by 1. Okay. You can't increase an ability score above 20. Okay. Perfect. Actor. You need a 13 charisma. That makes sense. You cannot be a professional actor unless you have a certain, stat. And you need to be fourth level. I think that's fine. Increase your charisma by 1. You get to impersonate people. You get the mimicry. Cool. Let's take a look if that's any different. Increase charisma by 1. You have advantage on deception checks. Oh, interesting. So it is different from the player's handbook. Player's handbook. You have advantage on deception and performance checks when trying to pass yourself off as a different person. This is when you're disguised as a fictional person or real person other than yourself. You have advantage on charisma checks, performance, to convince others that you are that person. So you do not get advantage on deception, which I think is a clear, just like bad omission. If you are disguised as somebody else, you are effectively trying to deceive people. You are actively deceiving people if you're trying to be somebody else. So put deception in there. What are you doing? What are you doing, wizards? Mimicry, you can mimic the sounds of others. Anytime thereafter you hear someone, you can make a performance check. Yeah. Perfect. Alrighty. Athlete's an important one here. Because the athlete feat is never taken in 5e because it's so incredibly bad. You get strength, dex, or con by 1, climb speed equal to your speed. That's a big buff to it, incredibly huge buff. No, climbing didn't cost you extra movement. This is already in there. When you're prone, you can get back up at 5 feet, and jumping, you have advantage on ability check when you use the jump action. Yeah, the athlete's still never going to be taken. Never, ever. Never, ever. Charger, proficiency with any martial weapon. Interesting. Increase your strength or dex by 1. Improve dash. Your speed increases by 10 when you take the dash action. Interesting. That's a bit of a change. If you move at least 10 feet in a straight line before hitting someone, make an attack action. Gain plus 1d8 bonus to the attack's damage roll, and the target is pushed up to 10 feet. Provided the target you want to push is no more than one size larger than you. That's pretty cute. Still never going to be taken, of course. I'm going to be looking at like the ones that I'm going to like do a quick scan here if there's anything big. Crossbow expert, dual wielding. When you make an extra attack with a light weapon, you can add ability modifier to the damage of the extra attack. If that attack is the crossbow with a light property, pretty cute, pretty cute. Defensive duelist, the parry one. You can use your reaction to add your proficiency bonus to your AC, potentially causing the attack to miss. Pretty cute, pretty cute. Dual wielder, and dual wielder is one of the more iconic ones that a lot of people take. Dual wielder got a huge buff. Dual wielder, you now gain a +1 to your strength or dex. When you're holding weapon, you can treat any non-light weapon in your hand as if it had the light property. Oh no, it got nerfed. What the? It got like nuffed. It got nerfed and buffed. That's really weird. You can draw or stow 2 weapons. So one of the big things about dual wielder was you gain a +1 bonus to AC while wielding 2 separate weapons. So they replaced the +1 to your AC by giving a +1 to your stats. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, from what I can already tell, it looks like every single feat is now giving you ability scores. Like, every single one. So, we'll have to see how that goes. Durable, gain +1 to your con. You have advantage on death saving throws. And as a bonus action, you can expend 1 hit dice, roll the dice, and regain a number of hit dice equal to the roll. Durable is whenever you roll hit dice to regain HP, the minimum number of hit points you regain from the roll equals twice your con mod. So, Durable got a huge buff. Durable got a huge buff. Because now, instead of the short rest being better for you, now with Durable, you both are way harder to die from death saves. And in combat, you can heal yourself using your hit dice. That's actually massive. That's huge. Elemental Adept, spellcasting or packed magic. Okay. Choose 2 of the following damage types. Oh, you can choose 2 damage types now. Wow, huge. Epic boons. Okay, let's take a look at these epic boons. I've been complaining about these epic boons being tied to class because I don't like epic boons being tied to class, but let's take a look. When you miss with an attack, you can hit instead. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you roll initiative. Fine. That actually impacts some of the games that I run, because some of the games I run, we re-roll initiative every single round. So, that could be something there. Epic boon of dimensional travel. You can cast the Misty Step spell without expending a spell slot. Dimensional travel. I can move 30 feet. That's what? Stupid. 20th level. I can cast Misty Step. Terrible. 20th level. Mind you, at 20th level, you are supposed to be fighting gods. At 20th level, you are supposed to be fighting creatures that are eating the multiverse. At 20th level, you get the privilege of casting Misty Step. Stupid. Energy resistance. You gain resistance to one of the following damage types. Cool. You can change that damage type. Cool. That's fine. Epic boon of fortitude. Your hit point maximum increases by 40. In addition, whenever you gain HP, you regain additional HP equal to your con mod. You can regain these additional HP no more than once per round. That's huge. 40 extra HP, and whenever the homie heals you, you're getting healed by your con mod. Massive. Irresistible offense. The damage you deal always ignores resistance. Cool. You're the fighter. If you're the fighter, you stab someone, it doesn't matter what they've got. You're doing damage. Like, that's cool. But once again, I'm not gonna go through all these, but once again, looking through all of these epic boons, it's more and more making me not like them because I don't think they should be tied to personal choice. I think they should be tied to like roleplay decisions and personal prestige. Not just I killed 40 goblins, I leveled up, I get this feature. No, it should be tied to because I saved Olympia from the forces of Asmodeus and I worked alongside the angels. The angels give me an angelic epic boon of epic recovery. You know, that tells a tale way better than we did X quest. I'm gonna take this thing because it fits my character. I just don't like that. Epic boons, proficiency, protect. Okay, no more epic boons. Got it. Now on to fighting styles. You while wearing armor, you gain +1 to AC. Dueling, you gain a +2 bonus to the damage roll. Great weapon fighting. When you roll 1 or 2, you can re-roll a protection. You can impose disadvantage. A -2 penalty. What? Wow, that's actually a huge nerf to fighting style protection. You can use your reaction to interpose your shield and impose a -2 penalty on the attack roll, potentially turning into a miss. A -2 is significantly worse than disadvantage because disadvantage is perceived as being a -5 to a roll. So going from -5 to -2 is significantly worse. Two weapon fighting. Yep, you can add your ability modifier to damage. Okay, with that being first level. Grappler is now 4th level. Great Weapon Master being 4th level, I'm perfectly fine with that. Heavily armored. I love the armor feats, but they never get used because 5e just doesn't dictate that it should be used. I fought God and the angels gave me Misty Step once a day. That's so bad. Why would they make that? I changed the Misty Step epic boon to teleport to anywhere that you can see within 300 feet. Carrying people with Misty Step that has 10 times the range would be a cool ability. Yeah, that makes sense. But giving them the straight up Misty Step spell is so incredibly boring. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. Keen Mind. Keen Mind now being 4th level. Do you always know which way is north? That's the important question. Choose the following skills. Arcana. Choose one of the following skills. Blah, blah, blah. You lack proficiency. You gain proficiency in it, and you gain expertise in it. Wow. You gain expertise in Arcana, History, Investigation, Nature, or Religion. You can take the study action. The study action as a bonus. What's the study action? We're getting new actions? What? Keen Mind no longer tells you which way is north, ladies and gentlemen. No longer. But we get a new study action, so I'll be interested to see what the new study action is. I love the armor feats, but they never get used because they just never get used. Mage Slayer. When you damage a creature that's concentrating, they have a disadvantage on the saving throw. And Guarded Mind. If you fail an intelligence or wisdom or charisma saving throw, you can cause yourself to succeed instead. That right there is a huge difference to Mage Slayer because originally Mage Slayer was when a creature casts a spell within range, you can attack them as a reaction. But now we're getting this Guarded Mind, which I think is actually really good. Medium Armor Master, once again, I love the armor thing, but they never get used because 5e just doesn't dictate that you upgrade an armor. It just doesn't. If you can only use it at level 20, proficiency bonus will always be the same, won't it? It'll be a +6, yeah. My gut tells me study action is learning creature stats. Where there is also a magic action. Interesting. We'll be taking a look at that momentarily. Anything else fun here? Mounted. Okay, so mounted combat. Very, very few games actually have mounted combat in them because typically you are in a tight, compact area and it just doesn't make any sense to have a mount. So let's see what they've done here. Once again, you get ability score. Oh, that's actually interesting. I didn't even realize this. Not only are the armor feats natively bad because people don't upgrade outside of their armor training, but all the other feats are giving you a plus to your ability scores, but these armor feats aren't. Look at this. Heavy Armor Master. Oh, no, never mind. You get lightly armored. For some reason, you're not getting an ability score increase. from being able to wear no armor to light armor, you do not get an ability score increase. Interesting. Which actually would be, like going from no armor to light armor is actually kind of a significant deal for like wizards and sorcerers and things of that nature, right? Alrighty, so ability, looking at the mounted handler. Mounted, you have advantage on animal handling checks. While mounted, you have advantage on attack rolls against creatures that are a size smaller than the horse or mount or whatever. Leap aside, if you're mounted, subjected to an effect, you basically get a sort of like evasion. Got it. Veer, while mounted, you can use your reaction to force an attack that hits your mount to hit you instead. I like that. I really like that. Maybe we'll actually see some mounted combat in 1D&D. Who knows? Hold true, you can just say 6 as well. Observant. You get expertise, and you can take the search action as a bonus action. Wow, once again, show of hands, class. How many people have used the search action in combat? Once again, I've only ever done it once, and it was because of an incredibly contrived reason of they were in a room, and there was lasers shooting them, and they need to use search actions to, like, to find the key to turn them off, while also fighting some other things too. So like it was a combo of like people like wanting, oh, do we just go in all combat? Do we all go in on searching? Like, what do we do here? Polar Master, one of the most taken feats of all 5e. Let's take a look what they've done. Pole Strike. Immediately after you take the attack action, you can use the bonus action to hit people with the tip, doing a d4 of damage. Whoop-de-doo. Reaction, when you're holding a weapon that has a heavy or reach, and that has the heavy and reach properties. You can use reaction to make one melee attack against a creature that enters your reach. Looks, pretty standard. Resilient, you gain saving throw. Yep. Oh, interesting. So, in 5e, the resilient feat, I don't think there was anything stopping you. There was nothing stopping you from taking that again and again. So you could theoretically have advantage. You could have proficiency in all saving throws, but here it says you are not. It's not repeatable. You cannot take resilient more than once. Interesting. Interesting. They just need a redo of armor system completely and add more weapons, do more adventure books in FR, making new rules for crits, fails, and makes new expert class and feats, new backgrounds. Is not what I personally want from Wizards. Like I said, Nick, I'm going to make my own 1D&D, codenamed, titled 2D&D right now. And I will be addressing the armor and weapons in particular, because those are something that really need to be, touched upon, for sure. Ritual Caster, you can cast spells ritually, go figure. Sentinel, I think is a terrible feat. Imagine this, right? You, the tiny little halfling with your dagger. The dragon, the gargantuan dragon. This thing has a wingspan of 100 feet. As it flies over you, you hit it with your dagger, and this gargantuan dragon that got hit by the dagger all of a sudden stops flying. Why? Why is it when you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, the creature speed becomes 0 for the rest of the turn? That is so dumb. Like, I could get it if there was the addendum of like a creature no larger than one size larger than you, but the fact that the Tarrasque this 200-foot creature is running across the plains, and you give it a little poke, and then all of a sudden it just goes and starts T-posing like it just got hit by some nerf or whatever. Like, why? I'm perfectly fine with halting tiny creatures. I think that's perfectly fine, but there needs to be that addendum that you cannot stop a giant that is 5 times larger than you from running away. It does not make any sense. That halt is terrible. Terrible. Searching while your party are taking hits seems like an irresponsible use of your action. Well, Mike, so that scenario in particular was there was monsters and there was the lasers. And the lasers were adding up, right? Because, if they did not stop the lasers, they were going to die. So there needed to be people that not only dealt with the monsters in the fight, but also needed to be searching around. So, like, it made sense that, like, hey, like, if we all focus on fighting the monsters here, the lasers are going to get worse. So we need to, so we need to divvy up. Some people need to search, and some people need to fight. Sharpshooter, another one of the most taken feats in all of 5e. Your range attacks ignore half cover and 3/4 cover. Being within 5 feet doesn't impose disadvantage. And attacking at long range doesn't impose disadvantage. So, yeah, they got rid of the whole... They got rid of their whole -5 to hit but plus 10 damage thing, which I'm okay with. I always thought that was incredibly boring. Shield Master, Shield Bash, Interpose Shield. I really like that a lot. Skulker, I think, is a really fun feat, but never gets taken. Ooh, new feat. Speedster, new feat. You need a Dex or a Con of 13. You possess exceptional speed and stamina. Increase your Dex or Con by 1. Your speed increases by 10 while you aren't wearing heavy armor. Wowee. And when you take the dash action on your turn, difficult terrain doesn't cost you extra movement. That is a huge, huge thing. Increasing someone's speed by 10 feet. You know for a fact that there's people going to be making, like, the Tabaxi monk rogue that has this feat and they can move, like, 1 billion feet in a turn. You know people are going to be doing that. It seems like that scenario was created in order to justify the search action entirely. Yes, it was. It absolutely was. That's the only way that search action can be used is if you make a scenario in which that's actually useful, right? Spell Sniper, bypass cover, casting in melee, increase range. Instead of it being doubled, when you cast a spell that has a range of at least 10 feet that requires you to make an attack roll, you can increase the spell's range by 60 feet. So it's no longer doubled. It's only increased by 60, which I think is perfectly fine. Warcaster, one of the most top... Warcaster is absolutely in the top 5 most picked feats of all 5e. Concentration, you have advantage on con saving throws. Yep. Reactive spell, when a creature provokes an attack opportunity, you can use reaction to cast a spell. Rather than making an opportunity attack, the spell must have a casting time of 1 action and must target only that creature. Yep. Seems pretty standard. Weapon training, an incredibly worthless feat. Never picked in all of 5e. However, it is changed up here. Weapon Master in 5e was increase your strength or dex by 1 to a maximum 20. And you gain proficiency with 4 weapons of your choice. Each must be simple or martial. Now, weapon training is increase strength or dex by 1, and you gain martial weapon proficiency. Which, once again, is never going to get picked because if you were going to be using martial weapons, you would have picked a class that uses martial weapons. So, is what it is. Mobile is the new speedster. It seems like it. It seems like it. Alright, spell list. We get a whole bunch of spells, and they tell us what level they are. 0th level. 0th level, of course, being cantrips. The spell, the school, the ritual. I'm interested. Of course, they're divided, of course, by arcane, and then presumably by divine, and then presumably by nature. Rules glossary. Let's take a look at the fun new rules. Ability checks. The ability check is one of 3 types of D20 test. There's the ability check, the attack roll, and the saving throw. Skills, when you make an ability check, use your skill proficiency, action acquired, such as hide, and influence. Influence is, I'm willing to bet, going to be the new... Oh, actually, I don't know what influence would be, because are they getting rid of persuasion? That might be the case. They might be getting rid of persuasion and putting influence in. Difficulty class, DCs, the default DC for a check is 15. Golly, that's actually kind of high. Oh my god, my friggin' mouse, please. Here we go, very easy 5, easy, medium, hard, very hard, nearly impossible. Yep, pretty standard difficulty class there. Armor training. Armor training is the new name for armor proficiency. Any existing rule that involves armor proficiency now applies to armor training. Yep. Pretty standard. If you are wearing armor you are not proficient in, you have disadvantage on any D20 test that involves strength or dex, and you cannot cast spells. You know, that's already in the rules, but how often does anyone ever wear armor that they're not proficient in, right? How often does that happen? Probably next to never. If you equip a shield in lack armor training, you don't gain the armor class bonus of the shield. So you're literally just holding the shield for no reason. Artisans tools, category tools. Yep, a whole bunch of fun things there. We've got the attack action, equipping weapons, moving between attacks. If you move on your turn, you can use some or all of the movement to move between the attacks of this action. If you have a feature such as extra attack, that gives you more than one attack as part of the attack action. Yep, makes sense. Attack roll. Yep, arcane spells, bark skin. What? Why is bark skin even such a big thing here? Here's the new version of the bark skin spell. Here we go. You touch one willing creature until the spell ends. The target's skin assumes a bark-like appearance. The target gains a number of temp HP equal to your spellcasting ability modifier plus your proficiency bonus. So normally bark skin was a flat 16 AC, which of course a lot of spellcasters would use because typically spellcasters are squishy. Now it's just giving you a flat temp HP, which I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, it is what it is, I guess. And when you cast it at a higher level, the numbers don't go up. Instead, when you cast it at higher levels, you can target more people. Okay. Is what it is. Blind sight. If you have blind sight, you can effectively see within a range. Yep. Even if you are blinded or in darkness. Yep. Climb speed. Yep. You can climb, and it's half your speed. Creature type. You know, we got the standard creature types there. These types don't have rules themselves, but some rules in the game affect creatures of certain types in different ways. For example, the description of the Cure Wounds spell specifies the healing doesn't work on a construct. Which, for those of you that don't know, in earlier editions of D&D, healing actually did damage to undead, and necrotic damage actually healed undead. But they have since gotten rid of that because it probably was just too gamey, if I had to guess. So, like, if you're the cleric, instead of casting Cure Wounds on the homie, you can be like, Cure Wounds zombie, and then the zombie goes like, you know. D20 test, we got action, the dash action, we got difficult terrain. Difficult terrain, of course, slows you down. Divine spells, exhaustion. Here we go, exhaustion, I want to see this. This condition is cumulative. Each time you receive it, you gain 1 level of exhaustion. You die if your exhaustion level exceeds 10. Okay, we're getting a change to exhaustion. Oh boy. When you take a D20 test, you subtract your exhaustion level from the D20 roll. Spell save DC is affected. Subtract your exhaustion level from the spell save DC of any spell you cast. I like that change. Finishing the long rest removes 1 level of your exhaustion. When your exhaustion level reaches 0, you are no longer exhausted. I really like this. I really like this exhaustion system. The end of the feed's video teases something about fighting with shields coming in the future UA. I dig that. So I really like this exhaustion table here. Because exhaustion was next to never used ever in all of 5e. I personally use it all the time because I liked it a lot. I like the carryover. But this one is not nearly as harsh because for those of you that don't know, exhaustion was 6 levels. The first being you have disadvantage on all ability checks. Second being movement halved. Third being oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on it. So 1, disadvantage on all ability checks. 2, half movement. 3, disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. 4, your HP is halved. 5, you have a speed of 0, and then 6, you are dead. So this one simplifies and streamlines it by having levels 1 through 10. If you have any exhaustion, then you subtract the number of exhaustion from D20 rolls that you make. You subtract it from your spell saving throws that you force upon enemies. That's very simple, very elegant, and I like it. I really dig that. Expertise, you double your proficiency bonus. Fly speed, you fly. Gaming set, gaming set. Those sets now cost 1 GP apiece, whatever. Grappled, speed is 0. You have disadvantage on attack rolls against any target other than the grappler. Okay, that's important. Very, very important. The grappler can drag or carry you, but the grappler suffers the slowed condition while moving unless they are tiny or 2 more sizes smaller than the grappler. Got it. And escape. When grappled, you can make a strength or dex or strength saving throw against the grappled escape's DC at the end of each of your turns. Okay, that's a huge difference to grappling. Huge difference. You can now escape at the end of your turn. The condition also ends if they are incapacitated. I heard that guidance was gutted, so let's take a look at this, shall we? I've just read the study action. It's vaguely learning about basically anything depending on the skill. So if you're trying to learn how to counter trolls, make an Arcana check. Okay. Guidance. Reaction, which you take in response to you or your ally within 30 feet of you failing an ability check. You channel magical insights. The creature can roll a d4 and add the number to the roll, potentially turning it into a success. Once a creature rolls the die for the spell, that creature can't benefit from the spell again until the creature finishes the long rest. Guidance got gutted. Hardcore. So I like this change, though, because I think guidance was incredibly boring. Guidance was basically, DM, I'm always concentrating on guidance. I'm always casting guidance. I'm always casting guidance. You know, like, that's incredibly boring. This is, hey, you know, number of PCs in the party a day. If you fail an ability check, you can add a D4 to it. I like that change. I'm okay with guidance being gutted. The help action, we all know that. You basically help out the homie. You give advantage on the next ability check that ally makes. Assist attack roll. You momentarily distract an enemy within 5 feet of you, granting advantage to the next attack roll. Pretty simple stuff. Heroic Inspiration. If you have Heroic Inspiration, called Inspiration, which it should not be called Inspiration because that doubles up on Bardic Inspiration, which is a terrible game design. Why would you have 2 things named the same? That's just terrible. Gaining Heroic Inspiration. If you roll 1, a character gains Heroic Inspiration. If the character rolls a 1 for a D20 test, that one must be on the D20 used for the test roll, not on the D20 that was re-rolled or discarded. Okay? Also, I'm incredibly thirsty. This Heroic Inspiration represents the character's resolve to do better after fumbling an attempt. The DM can only reward Heroic Inspiration to a player character who's done something that's particularly heroic or in character. Whatever. I don't think that meta currency should be like... Meta currency has its place in all role-playing games, but I don't like its implementation in 1D&D so far. I really don't. Only one at a time. You can only have 1 inspiration at a time, sure. Hidden, concealed, surprise. When you are hidden, when you roll initiative, you have advantage on the roll. I like that. Saying, hey, you've got advantage on initiative. Cool. Makes sense. Attacks affected. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage while you're hidden, and your attack rolls have advantage. Cool stuff. The condition ends on you immediately after any of the following occurrences. When you make it sound louder than a whisper, an enemy finds you, you make an attack roll. When you cast a spell, verbal component, or you aren't heavily obscured. I like the hidden change. I like the advantage on initiative. I think that's cool. Hide. You can hide. You must make a DC 15 stealth check. I don't like that. I don't like the arbitrary, like, there's just a flat DC 15 stealth check. I think that there's a better way to do that. I think there's a better way to do stealth other than just having a flat DC 15 stealth check. Because you gotta remember, a rogue at first level is already adding like a plus 3, 6, you know, like 7, 8. You know, they're adding like a plus anywhere between like 6 to 8 on their stealth checks already. Like, because they got expertise. Rogues are immediately going to be like, very rarely are they going to fail. Guidance can't be used for initiative anymore. Yay. Guidance was stupid before. Yeah, guidance was literally just, DM, I'm casting guidance at all times, all day, every day for everything that I'm doing. Like, no, that's boring. That sucks. So, hide, I think that they can do something more elegant than just having a flat DC 15 stealth check. Incapacitated, you can't take actions or reactions, no concentration, you can't speak, you're surprised. Yeah. Influence. Here we go, new action. With the influence action, you can try to influence another creature to do something you request or demand. This action can be used only on creatures controlled by the DM and isn't mind control. I love how they have to specify that it is not mind control, because so many people show up to the game and expect that persuasion checks are mind control. A lot of people show up to the game and expect that persuasion is mind control and that insight is mind reading. It is not. They are not. It can't force a creature to do something that is counter to the creature's alignment or that is otherwise repugnant to the creature. This action has 3 main parts: attitude, interaction, and a charisma check. I love this. They're adding roleplay mechanics into the game. They just need to add exploration, and then there will be both combat exploration and roleplay in the game. Go figure. Attitude. A creature's attitude determines how character can influence that creature. Each DM-controlled creature has one of the following attitudes toward the PCs. It's indifferent, it's friendly, or it's hostile. Perfect. They need to add some numbers here. Like, I'm going to see if there's going to be any numbers here, but they need to add numbers based on that. So how I like to run it is, when you interact with a creature, the creature's score is anywhere between 2 to 12. If it's a 2, then it wants to kill the party. If it's a 12, then it's the party's best friend. So if you're indifferent, then you're sitting there at like 7. And then things that the party does, like if the party helps this person that's indifferent to them, then hey, the points go up. They're more friendly to you. Like, you're no longer at a 7. Maybe you go up to like an 8, 9, or 10 because you saved the town. Oh, but hey, if you stole from them, then hey, that's 7. That's going down to like a 4 or 5. They really don't like you, kind of thing. So I think they do need to add some numbers here to keep it less, obscure. Hide with stealth with DC of enemy passive perception should stay like that. I think it either needs to stay like that or they need to do something different, for sure. So I really like that they're adding, role play into the game mechanics. That's sorely needed. No longer is it obfuscated by DM discretion. Sometimes you want rules and sometimes you want rulings. These are good rules. When you take the influence action, either roleplay how your character interacts with the creature or describe how your character's behavior, focusing on your character's request or demand. If the interaction is especially suited to the creature's desire and outlook, the DM might grant advantage to your subsequent checks. Or might temporarily shift a hostile creature to indifferent or indifferent creature to friendly. Similar, if the interaction is particularly irksome to the creature, the DM might impose disadvantage. Hey, king, give us your kingdom. And then you're like, okay, player, roll a disadvantage. Ability check. To determine whether your requested demand is successful, make a charisma check, animal handling, deception, intimidation, or persuasion. The applicable skill depends on the interaction, with animal handling being reserved for beasts and monstrosities. Also, each request or demand requires a different check. The creature's attitude determines the DC required to achieve a specific response. DC 10, the creature does as asked, as long as no risk or sacrifices are involved. DC 20, indifferent creatures. The creature accepts a minor task or sacrifice to do as asked. DC for friendly creature response. The DC 10 creature accepts a minor task, minor risk, or sacrifice to do as asked. DC 20, the creature accepts a significant risk or sacrifice to do as asked. And DC for hostile creature's response. DC 10, the creature also offers no help, but does no harm. And the creature does as asked as long as no risk or sacrifices are involved. So I think that this seriously needs to get touched up quite a lot, but I like the direction that they're going with this. So not recently, but I covered a game system on my channel called Land of Eam. And in Land of Eam, there is no such thing as monsters in the world. Every single creature that you come across in the world has the potential for roleplay. If you come across the Hydra, you could potentially talk to the Hydra. You come across the bandits, you could potentially talk to the bandits. And one of the aspects of the game is talking down creatures. If you don't want to get into a fight with a creature, you could potentially talk them down. And I think that that's kind of where this is heading, right? You say, hey, gang, you turn around the corner, and then there's the savage, I don't know, demon-infused gnolls. The gnolls look at you, and they're going to eat you. And then the party steps up and says, hey, DM, we actually want to try and influence them. And then the person steps up, and you're like, okay, the demon-infused gnolls, they really want to eat you, so roll with disadvantage. And then you roll, and mind you, the DC 10 I don't think is nearly good enough. I think there needs to be a lot more factors in play here. But you're like, hey, gnolls, don't eat us. And then the bard goes and rolls, and then they roll like a 12. It's like, oh, hey, the gnolls actually don't plan on eating you right now. Like, I think that's cool. But I think that the DCs here needs, like, the DCs and the verbiage here need some serious work. But it's on the right path. I like this whole influence action thing for people that really want the mechanics tied behind roleplay. What else we got? The jump action, boring. Invisible condition, surprise. Yeah, when you're invisible, you roll initiative, you have advantage. Makes sense compared to the other thing. I really like that. Light weapon property. We're going to see the weapons at some point. Long rest, benefits of long rest. Oh, goodness gracious. I do not like this at all. You regain all lost hit points. You regain all spent hit dice. If your hit point maximum was reduced, it returns to normal. And if any of your ability scores were reduced, they return to normal. That's incredibly boring. Incredibly boring. Once again, in my 1D&D, codename 2D&D, I'll be offering up a whole bunch of different rest variants, because right now, basically the entire game, and I do mean the entire game, hinges on the rest mechanic, right? The entirety of how your players play the game is dependent on this rest variant, because what this is saying is you get all your resources back, you get all your hit dice back, you get all your HP back, you get your everything restored back to you. That's telling you to blow through your load and not worry about any ramifications about tomorrow. That's what it's saying, right? And sometimes you want to run a game where you want there to be the day-to-day grind of like, oh, hey, you got into a fight yesterday. Well, you're still feeling the ramifications of that fight today. Because, oh, yeah, you got hit and you're still missing some hit points. Oh, you used some of your spell slots? Well, you only got some of your spell slots back. Some people want to play a game where you feel the ramifications of the day-to-day, game, right? This tells the heroic fantasy of a group of people that stave off death every single time because they lose nothing along the way. There's a magic action now. When you take the magic action, you cast a spell that has a casting time of action. You can use a magic item. If you cast a spell that has a casting time of 1 minute or longer, you can take the magic action. On each turn of that casting, you must maintain concentration while you do so. Yep. That's actually something that a lot of people didn't know, is you are concentrating when you are casting a spell, and you can get interrupted. That actually was already a mechanic, but it wasn't spelled out like this. This does a good job of spelling out that you are concentrating on a spell that you are casting actively. So that's good. Move, you can move. Breaking up your move, you can break your move. Moving around other creatures, you have to move around other creatures unless they're incapacitated, blah, blah, blah. Can willingly end your move in a space occupied by another creature. Yep. Good stuff there. Climbing and swimming, they cost you extra speed. Special speeds, you have climbs, fly, and swim. Good stuff. Speed of 0. If effects zeros your speed for a time, any special speed you have is also zeroed for the same duration. For example, if you have a speed and climb speed, both speeds are zeroed. Make sense? Magical instrument tool. Yep. Primal spells are primal spells. Ritual casting. Search. When you take the search action, you can make a wisdom check to discern something that isn't obvious. The search table suggests which skills are applicable when you take this action. Insight, creature state of mind. Medicine, creature's ailment. Perception, concealed creature or object. Or survival, tracks or food. Okay. Okay. Is what it is. Slowed. Okay, I like this. A new condition. You must spend 1 extra food of movement for every foot you move. I like that. Attack rolls against you have advantage. I like that. You have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. I like that. New conditions. New conditions are good. More conditions better. Conditions that are simple and easy to understand and allow for variance in traps, in puzzles, in combat, in, you know, attack actions, and all that fun jazz. New conditions, good. Study. When you take the study action, you make an intelligence check to study your memory. A book or a book, a creature, a clue, whatever. The areas of knowledge table suggest the skills are applicable when you take this action, depending on the area of knowledge. Arcana spells, history, historic events, investigation, traps, cipher puzzles, nature, terrain, floor, weather, religion, deities, religious hierarchies, so forth. Okay. There kind of already was a study action, but it wasn't called a study action. It was just called making a check. You know, oh, make an Arcana check. Oh, hey, player, roll a nature check. So that was kind of already in the game. So the study action really doesn't really add anything new. Swim speed, tool proficiency, teleportation. Okay. Teleportation is a special kind of magical transportation. If you teleport, you disappear and reappear instantly, whether moving through an intervening space. Transportation doesn't expand movement unless a rule tells you otherwise. The teleportation never provokes opportunity attacks. When you teleport, all the equipment you are wearing and carrying teleports with you. If you are touching another creature when you teleport, that creature doesn't teleport with you unless the teleportation effect says otherwise. If the destination space of your teleportation is occupied by another creature or blocked by a solid object, you instead appear in the nearest unoccupied space nearby. Okay. Tremor sense, you can sense tremors around you. Tremor sense can't detect creatures or objects in the air. Makes sense. And unarmed strikes. Whenever you hit someone with an unarmed strike, the target, you can choose between the following. The target takes bludgeoning damage equal to 1 plus your strength mod. Grapple, the target is grappled and the escape equals DC 8 plus your strength modifier plus your proficiency bonus, which originally it was always a contested check, so I think that's perfectly fine. You can't do this for one size larger than you. If you have a hand free of the target, cool. Shove, you push the target 5 feet away, and the target's knocked prone. The shove is possible only if the target is no more than one size larger than you. Okay, I like that change to unarmed strike there, specifically grapples. Alrighty, so that is this UA. Slowed is good with ice spells. Hot take, a long rest shouldn't be easy to take. If you have no roof over your head, you should be able to take a short rest. Yeah, so like I said, I will be making variants on short rest and long rest. I'll be doing a whole bunch of things like that in my 2D&D, as we're calling it right now. So, what are my thoughts overall with this UA? My thoughts overall with this UA is they're on the right path with some things, but definitely not the Bard. They are nowhere close to the right path of the Bard. And for that matter, I think they're on the wrong path with the core classes. The fact that the core classes are getting feats moved further along the line, and they're adding these epic boons, means that they're trying to push for high-level play, but people are not going to play high-level play. That's the thing that I think that they're not understanding. People are not playing high-level play for a number of reasons. There's a large laundry list of reasons why people are not playing at high levels of play. And ultimately, saying, hey, we have these 20 levels of play, we need people to play all these 20 levels of play, is not going to work. You're not going to push people to play high levels of play by dangling epic boon at level 20. You're not going to push more people to play high levels of play by moving something that was originally at 7th level down to 9th level. You are not going to push higher levels of play. It's not going to happen. And that's, I think, ultimately something that they need to seriously look up at, because that's just not good. The Bard got absolutely butchered to all hell. The Ranger, they did okay with. The Rogue, they did okay with. Some of the new, rules, clear uppings that they did, perfect, fine, good, great. New conditions, cool. Exhausted. I'm perfectly fine with the new exhaustion system, because what I really love about this exhaustion system is that with 10 tiers of exhaustion, what that's going to mean is you can have a monster, and that monster says, hey, this monster hits you with an enervation ray, roll a constitution saving throw, take X damage, and suffer 1 level of exhaustion if you fail. And because there's a high level of exhaustion, it's okay to throw things that exhaust people, because they're going to be feeling it for long. You're going to be able to not kill them nearly as quickly. That's good stuff there. Getting nerfing guidance, I like. Clearing up some things like the influence. Oh my gosh, I really like this influence stuff, but they really need to check out they really need to fix up the influence responses here. The fact that people get advantage on initiative checks if they're invisible or hidden, cool stuff. Them clearing up some things that didn't really need to be cleared up on, like the search or the study, whatever. Other than that, I think that overall, if I had to give this overall UA a score, I'd give it overall a 6. And the reason why it's getting a 6 is because it's getting drastically dragged down. Drastically by the Bard. Drastically. Monk seems to be getting buffed by game mechanic changes thus far. First, grapple and shove being unarmed attacks. Now the revised grapple, sharpshooter, and the Great Weapon Master feats. Yeah, I will be. So one of my things too is I'll be because in my 1D&D I'm gonna be squishing levels from 1 to 10. I'm gonna be reworking the classes and all that. And Monk is actually getting a major overwork, and I think a lot of people are gonna dig it. My Monk is gonna be the bee's knees, cat's pajamas, dog's woof. Is what I'll say. So overall, like I said, I'm giving this UA a solid 6 because the Bard is getting just dragged through the mud. The class design, I think, is going in a wrong direction of trying to spread things out when there's no reason to spread things out because people just don't play the high levels. Less than 15% of people play to tiers 3 and 4, so do not make the core gameplay loop about tiers 3 and 4 when only 15% of the people are freaking playing it. Make the core gameplay for the levels that people are actually playing, and then as the add-on on the side, allow there to be higher levels of play. Make the core gameplay experience levels 1 through 10, because when people show up to the table, oh hey, levels 1 through 10, really simple game. Levels 1 through 10. And then the few nerds out there can be like, oh, well, actually, at our table, we play to, 15th and 20th level. And then people would be like, what? The new people would be like, you can go past these levels, and you can incorporate people past the regular fold if you want. But keep the regular fold. Keep the game levels 1 through 10 for the standard people. And if you want to be a super nerd that plays the high level play, then do that stuff. But don't incorporate it into the base gameplay, because it's just not being used. It sucks so much that this class design is designed for levels 1 to 20. It's terrible. Look at this. Look at all these features and all this thought and all this effort and all this detail getting put into this class when half of it isn't used. What is the freaking point? What is the freaking point? You wouldn't do this with any other game, right? Imagine, I'm trying to think of a popular game. Let's say Monopoly, for example. And I don't know what you could do mechanically how this would fit here, but imagine if imagine a ton of people started a game of Monopoly and no one finished the game. Which actually how a lot of actually this makes sense. This actually makes sense because very few people actually play until the end of Monopoly, right? So when you pick up a game of Monopoly, you play until it's clear that someone's going to win. And then you stop playing the game. Because you don't need to play out the rest. If someone's ridiculously rich and everyone else is poor, you don't need to play out going bankrupt, right? You just play until someone is inevitably going to win. Imagine if literally half of the rules of Monopoly were designed for that last portion of the game that no one plays. Where the rich people are trying to squeeze out all the money from the poor people. Imagine if literally half of the game rules of Monopoly We're about milking, like, you know, the money out of the few people left playing the game. I think that's you know, honestly where we're at. Half of the game design, half of the thought process and effort is being put into things that just are not being used. So don't use them. Don't put your effort into them. Make the core gameplay loop of levels 1 through 10 fun, engaging, and then move on to the finer things later on for the very, very small number of people playing it. But once again, I know for a fact Wizards of the Coast is not going to make that a reality. Wizards of the Coast is going to continue to make levels 1 through 20, and they're going to continue to try and stretch and span things to get people to try to play levels 1 through 20, but people are not going to do it. Wizards of the Coast has no say in the matter about people playing high tiers of play. They've got none. People don't play high tiers of play for a number of reasons, and it has nothing to do with Wizards of the Coast. I shouldn't say nothing. It doesn't have entirely everything to do with Wizards of the Coast. There are things outside of Wizards of the Coast sphere of influence that dictates why people don't play high tiers of play. And one of those is just time. People typically want to play quick campaigns. People typically want to play, you know, new things after a certain amount of time. People typically want to move on to a new adventure after a certain number of time. Very, very few people want to play a campaign from levels 1 to 20. And there's literally nothing that Wizards of the Coast could do to, like, further emphasize that. Nothing. Monopoly is a terrible game, I know. Monopoly is a terrible game. So, yeah, those are my thoughts for this UA here. You know, I think it's okay-ish, solid stuff. I think that they're on the right track with some things, but once again, I know for a fact that they are not going to do what needs to be done. I know that for a fact. They are not going to do the big hard changes. They're not going to cut the classes in half. They are not going to make Bard actually not a spellcaster. They are not going to buff up the fighter and the monk to be on par with spellcasters. I know that they're not going to do everything that they need to do. Know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And that's really unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate. Alrighty. Woo wee! Alrighty. That was my first look at the new UA. Good stuff. Good-ish stuff. Ultimately, the biggest issue with D&D is that it's not the best version it can be. And it's funny that, like, that statement's a little bit odd because, you know, Wizards of the Coast ultimately dictates what the best version of D&D is because they're the ones making it. But we, objectively, as the community, know that there are certain things that need to be changed, right? We know it. The overwhelming majority of us are on board with certain changes. My change, the level squish thing, it sounds radical, of course, to people that have only ever played 5e. But it will be better for the game. It'll make the game simpler. It'll make the game more complex. It'll make the game more enjoyable. It'll do actually a lot of things, surprisingly. So yeah, I think Wizards of the Coast is on a certain good-ish path, but they need to do more. And I know that they're going to try and do some things, but they're not going to do everything. They're not going to push for the most. Monopoly. Okay. Monopoly is a great game as long as you know the rules and play by them properly. I mean, the problem is if you play it purely rules as written, and you know, games take forever. So, and once again, that also dictates the whole thing of D&D. If you play D&D purely as written and play the rules by them, a game of D&D takes forever. Like, to get from levels 1 to 20, it takes a long time. And people just typically don't have that time. People typically, you know, play short, sweet to the point campaigns and adventures. Want to try new characters, want to try new adventure settings, want to try new things. And playing all the way from levels 1 to 20 is just not conducive to that time. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Okay. What else are we looking at here? Looking at some things. Alrighty. So you know, those are my thoughts. I'll probably making a video about that relatively soon. For those of you who haven't joined my Discord, join my Discord. I'll be hosting some games there fairly soon. It's the link in the description. I recently have been super busy, and that's the reason why you haven't seen any videos on my channel in like a week or so, is because I've been incredibly busy. It basically, I've been incredibly busy with like some work things on the side with family and whatever else, and I just haven't been able to do anything. And today, when you know the one day where this UA comes out, I'm totally free. So I'll be getting back to producing more content. I'll be going back to running some games in my Discord, and then I'll be making a whole bunch of content for all y'all and some good stuff. I will be signing off in, I think, 10 minutes or so. So if any of you have any hard-hitting, burning questions of me, feel free to ask them. Speak now, forever hold your peace. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, moans, complaints, if you have any observations, thoughts, motivations, desires, feel free to ask them. Feel free to show them off. Because beyond just this today, besides just the stream, I got to do a bunch of writing today. I've got to do a bunch of I was going to do a bunch of recording as well. And I need to rest in my throat because my throat can only handle so much talking in a day. So any of y'all got anything for me, feel free to hit me with it. Feel free. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious. Anything else? Anything else going on in my life and career right now? Not really terribly much. I got a bunch of comments today. Holy crap. I'm getting so many comments today. It's actually really sad. There's a lot of people who they're saying that they want to play other game systems besides D&D, but none of their players are willing to play, which really sucks. Like, if you genuinely, as a DM, want to run another game system because you're either getting burnt out on D&D or you just want to, you feel like it'd be a better, thing to run for your players, like, and your players are just so unaccommodating to your desires, like, that's not a healthy relationship. Your players are just, like, pimping you out and demanding that you only run D&D. Like, that's not good. Will you be running any games anytime soon? Yes, I'll be running. So I'm running my own games always. Like, I'm always running games of, like, my own personal groups. But two things. One, I'll be running public games in my Discord. So I'll be running a whole bunch of either 0th level one-shots, or I'll be running DCC, D&D. I'll try to be running some Call of Cthulhu. I'll be running old school essentials, things of that nature. But in addition to that, I've also got something coming to my channel. I'll be running a solo D&D game. I'll be running a solo D&D game where basically I am, I'm the DM, the narrator, whatever. And basically it'll be a narrative game. So I'll be going through, like, the actions of, like, okay, so we get into combat and here's what happens. But then on top of that, then I'll have, like, voice acting. So I'll have, like, the voice acting of the player characters and the monsters and whatever else. And there'll be, like, role playing between them, and then, like, whenever they're in the town, like, talking to NPCs, and it'll be like a narrative game, and to get to, like, know the characters a bit better than just, like, running them purely mechanically. So I'll be really looking forward to that. So I've got a bunch of things on the horizon here. Got a bunch of things coming to my channel soon. In addition, of course, in my channel soon. Starting next week, I'll be reviewing and overviewing and DM guiding 3 separate adventures. I'll be doing that for Out of the Abyss, Descend into Avernus, and oh my gosh, Tales from the End Portal. So I've got a bunch of things going on. So I'm looking forward to all of that. I'm looking forward to running games for people. I'm looking forward to having a consistent schedule with my releases. I'm looking forward to a lot of that. So, other than that, yeah, I'm working on a bunch of videos. I'll be running a bunch of games soon, because my schedule is clearing up for the most part, unless there's any unforeseen circumstances, which I hope there isn't. But that's the part of unforeseen circumstances, you can never foresee them, right? So I'll be doing all that, running a bunch of games. Join the Discord if you haven't already. Like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell button, comment, lurk, do whatever. If you're listening to this, you're automatically supporting my channel because you're listening to me, presumably. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I'll be doing more stuff, so stay tuned. Check out my post on YouTube and on the Discord there, and check it all out, fun jazz. But that is going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you to my amazing patrons. You all are helping me out so much. Thank you so very much. And I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.